Hello, pretty storytellers. Welcome to Pretty Stories, and you like how I done my halfway 2K special? So to start us off, I could tell that this is gonna be a long video since it took like months to create these images. It took months for me to make this. This is why I've been kind of taking a break for a month. Since I'm probably have more videos, but I feel like this one should be my 2K special since I was surprised that I got to 2,000 subscribers. Like, that's almost the amount of subscribers I got on my old channel, which thank you guys. I mean, I don't really, like, subscribers don't really matter to me. Like I said, don't really matter to me. I mean, yeah, it kind of matters to me, but at the same time, I just like doing this for fun and also to inspire others. But since, like, even when I try to inspire others, it usually fails. But yeah, I'm just glad that I got to this point. I'm really super chill about it, but yeah, I'm also really grateful for it too. And so, to congratulate myself on reaching this milestone, I decided to create a little challenge for myself. Even though I don't really know if I thought of this idea before I saw that I reached the 2K milestone, or before, since I've started, like, my dad got me into AI on November, but I started doing like a challenge like a little bit in December. I mean, I don't know when I officially decided to challenge myself into start making my fictional characters into AI, but yeah, it's been pretty fun while it lasted. And why not make this my 2K special, since storytelling has always been a very important part of my life ever since I was 7. And like back when I used to write like songs, I call them songs, but they don't even rhyme, and like with super messy handwriting that I tried to read back on my old channel. Like, I reacted to a ton of my old stories back on my old channel. I miss doing that, even though I done that on October when I reacted to the Devil's Haunted Hayride, which you're gonna see the reboot. Or it's like a crossover reboot, since I also came up with another story that I didn't really write, but I sort of draw like the sketches of the characters and ideas on it, called The Legend of How I Left Blake. So it's like a reboot crossover, and I'm already spoiling too much. So enough story, since I can tell this is gonna be a very long video. Let's get into the ground rules, which the number one ground rule is that I cannot include any past stories that I've created. Like when I was like little, like I can't recreate those past stories when I was little. Like, they need to be like present stories that I am currently working on, not the past stories, like such as when I done the Kenya series based on my doll, or like just any stories that I've written in the past that I am not reworking. Like, for example, I'm disqualifying like any stories that I written when I was younger or when I was in middle school. I'm disqualifying those stories, unless like I said, unless they're stories that I am currently making. Like, I can't include the old stories. Why can't I speak? The second ground rule is that I am not including Freeloader, aka my only PG-13 story that I am currently working on. Now, the only reason why I usually like to separate Freeloader from the rest of my stories is that not only because it's the only one that is not family friendly, but also it's because it's a story that you should not be taking seriously, since it is technically a comedy satire of both the Chipmunks and towards child stars. Not only that, but I also feel like it will be a really hard task to generate what the Freeloader characters will look like, from Zane, Rodney, Tommy, Yanni, Clarice, Emmy, and even Good Bad Yellow now. That was the first time I ever said that, wow. Without making them look too similar to their world counterparts, as I like to call it. So yeah, I think it's best to let, like, if it ever becomes live action, which I'm hoping it becomes live action, then I'll like to see what the characters will look like, since I feel like in my own mind I'll accidentally make them look too similar to their world counterparts, which I remember doing in the pilot episode I made like in 2020 back on my old channel. I mean, I even tried like swapping up the color schemes, but they just end up looking too similar to their world counterparts, just as humans. And so yeah, I feel like I'll accidentally do that again. So that's another reason why I'm disqualifying Freeloader out of that cast. But don't panic, since I'm planning to like talk about Freeloader more in another video. I remember trying to write a script, but then like a year later, I still haven't gotten to that. But yeah, I still got so many video ideas. But yeah, I might talk about Freeloader in another video, but not this one, okay? Okay. Rule number 4 is that they have to be stories that are like fully developed, and like you get just of the characters and like the current stories, but they're developed, like no undeveloped stories, which is why I'm also disqualifying Namjai, which is a Thai story. And since I haven't really gotten that much about it, other than just basically being like, I I mentioned this in my Busan video that I accidentally whipped off the story of Siddhartha and put it in Namjai. It's just about a Thai princess named Namjai trying to like see how the world is from the rural village outside her palace, and so she travels there and gets to meet all the people there. And yeah, since I haven't really got that much on the characters aside from Namjai and Moyoni, I think I remember like he cares about the animals there, and I don't I can't even remember. I need to like I haven't even worked that story for like so long, and so it's pretty undeveloped, and I haven't really gotten that much on the characters, and so yeah, I'm disqualifying there just for how undeveloped it is. So like I haven't really gotten that far with it, so yeah, I'm disqualifying that one. And I'll also be disqualifying a story that was so close. It was so close to being added here until I decided to scrap the old idea and come up with a new concept in which is undeveloped, and I'm still trying to develop soon. But like it was like this close. Like if I made this video earlier, then it would have been included. But yeah, it's called She Came a Long Way, which on the surface it may seem like a girl power themed story, but like nah, I don't really like. I see everyone as equals, and I don't really like girl power since I see everyone as equals, but like just on the surface by the title She Came a Long Way, it just seems like girl power stuff, but in reality it's really like a deep color story and sort of based on how my tragic freshman year went. And basically it's all on my hopes of hoping that the school that I am transferring in goes well, similar to the lead character, which is sort of like a self-insert since like she's transferring schools as well, similar to my future self. It's just a hope for the future will go well. That's just that story. She Came a Long Way is based, like that phrase alone is based on a phrase that one of my counselors told about me on the spectrum, since I'm on the spectrum, and so I felt like that phrase is so inspiring that I decided to include that title in the story, even though originally it was going to be called Psych History, but then once I decided to change my major, then I changed it to She Came a Long Way. So the reason why I decided to scrap out both the main cast and also the original story of She Came a Long Way and try to rework it in my new version is due to the fact that like I saw that all of the Western main goalies in what I like to call the suite team, it's gonna be like a working title that I'm working on since like they're all in the same suite, and so I'm thinking of creating like a different team name for those goals. Is that I realized that out of all of the main 6 goals, like only 5 of them have mature subplots and like all like well developed subplots, and like you get to know just the characters, and like you get to see like some of the mature backgrounds between each of the 5 even though there's 6 main characters, but like there's only 5 of the main characters get to have like mature subplots, all except one. Like only 5 of them have depth in them, but one of them doesn't, and that character is Oak. I'm not saying that I don't like Oak, it's just like she is so bad. Like when comparing to the Western 5, like when compared to the rest of her peers, like they got to have like mature subplots, mature themes inside of them, but when it comes to Oak, she's basically nothing. She's basically like the static one out of them all. She doesn't really have that much of a character others, like outside of loving nature, loving animals, and being the only one in the suite that has a boyfriend that she has all throughout the story, like a long distance boyfriend. Like she's the only one. Like other than that, she doesn't really have that much of a character, which is distracting given that the rest of the 5 main characters all have more character than her. Like even her long distance boyfriend has more character than her and has better chemistry with her roommate Lunistra. But not only does it get distracting that Oak is the only main character that barely gets any depth to her or any interesting subplots really. Like seriously, like when we work in this story, like I can replace Oak with, like I can replace any of Oak's subplots. Like I can either remove them or replace them with different characters. Like that's how easy it is to get rid of Oak. But one of my favorite characters in the story, named Sapphires, is one of my favorite characters, and She Came a Long Way. And she has, despite Sapphires being a side character, she has more character than Oak. And to get kind of a gist what I meant by why I love Sapphire so much, despite her not being a main character, is that on the surface she is portrayed as like this mean girl, this mean popular girl who is the head cheerleader and wants everything to be perfect. But like deep down she is dedicated and cares about the school, and she is a perfectionist above all. And given that Azira and Sapphires are like lost, like I don't want to spoil this bit, but I'm gonna spoil it anyways. They're like lost twins sort of, except they're fraternal twins. They don't look similar, which is why, like, for example, someone in the, like, let's say Dia, since she's been to this school before, like she might look at Azira and say, you look familiar to this other popular, yeah. Sapphires may feel a lot of emotions for how Azira just left with Lunistra on her parents' spaceship, Lunistra's family spaceship, and so suffering from only child syndrome. For that, she feels like everything needs to be perfect and just to go everything, and she feels like she needs to be the best of the best out of everything. And due to that, she even formed an unlikely friendship with the main lead. And yeah, she's like one of my favorites. You guys are gonna see later on how much emotion and depth this character has in comparison to Oak, which even though I love the name Oak and how unique it is, I had to remove her from barely having any character. And with all the other changes from the original version, I decided to mash up Zoya's and Santushi's characters. That was the first time I said both of those names into one. I decided to mash both of those characters into one. And the reason why I decided to mash both of those characters up is not for biracial representation of African American and Japanese, like part African American, part Japanese, but also because, like, the reason why I did that is because, like, Santushi is, like, similar to Oak in the form that they're both introverted and kind of want to keep closer to himself. But the difference is that I wanted to make a plot hole, not plot hole, just a twist that Zoya is actually the daughter of the nurse from Glass Bottom Bow, which is a story you'll see later. So it's sort of like a sequel series. I'm not going to explain too much until I get to Glass Bottom Bow, which I actually done the challenge with. But it's actually supposed to be a sequel series. And so, like, for example, when the nurse got a daughter, she named it Zoya, and so that's like her daughter. And so, but then when I want to, like, observe some of the negative aspects of family, for example, my family, and some of the negative aspects that comes with them, then I don't want to do that to the nurse, since I feel like it would derail her character too much if I accept some of the negative qualities of my mom to her. And so I decided to force all of that negative family aspect on Santushi's character. Like, I decided to drop all that negativity of her family on Santushi. But with that, it sort of made, like, Santushi be like one of those main characters which you ask yourself, why isn't she the lead? Since she has a much more interesting backstory than Zoya, so why isn't Santushi the lead instead of her? And so that's why I decided to match both of those characters up, have Santushi's backstory with, like, both their personalities and mesh. And so that's how I changed the lead character to Kuwashi, and how I decided to, like, change the whole format to now there's 4 main characters instead of 6, which is honestly more realistic to, like, my dorm now, except there's only 3 suite mates now with my invisible roommate and 2 of my suite mates over there. And so, like, it's more realistic to have 4 people in the suite than 6. And also, you hear the saying less is more. And about the sequel part of how I wanted to connect Glass Bottom Bow with She Came a Long Way, I decided to change the daughter of the nurse from Glass Bottom Bow to Dia, which makes so much more sense since Dia wants to be in a medical position. And so, yeah, that would make more sense to have Dia be like the daughter of the nurse that has that subplot. So yeah, I'm still trying to rework the new version of She Came a Long Way, and so yeah, that's just a glimpse of it. So yeah, that's the 3rd ground rule. And also the 4th ground rule, how did I almost miscount? The 4th ground rule is, of course, main characters only, since I did not want to generate all the other characters that are not main characters, and plus I feel like it will take too much time, as I'm already using up that time already. And though I will make certain exceptions for, like, certain stories that doesn't have, like, a specific main cast to it, like, not really a clique, I should say. But other than that, I will only be including main characters for this AI challenge. If you want to see me do the supporting characters, specifically supporting characters that I adore, then maybe we should do another video. So, with that kind of long intro out of the way, let's dive deeper into the AI challenge of creating some of my fictional characters that I am currently working on today from 5 of the current stories that I am working on for each of the main characters, and let's see how they look like when I convert them to AI images. Why not I have dinner? Wow! Okay, ow, my foot, ow, I did not plan for this. Oh my god, this chair sucks. Okay, sorry about that. Well, that was the longest 5-day dinner I ever had in my life, and I just ruined it, but I'm still keeping that take. But for all serious and trying to put it shortly, I have homework, of course, and a group project. But since all that is done and over with, we can finally continue this video. And also because it was night and the group project took so long that I mostly had to sleep long periods. So now that I'm refreshed and up to go, let's continue with this AI challenge. So let's do this thing. So the first story to start with this AI challenge is a story that many of my family are familiar of, and some of you fans, since I have made a couple of videos, especially last year, of this project idea. And so last year or 2 years ago, I think, but of course it's gonna be the first story, since out of all the current stories, this is the oldest one out of the bunch. So let me introduce you, or should I say more reintroduce you, since I have discussed this on my channel before. Escape, the story of Lighthouse Village. Okay, so what else do I have to say about Escape, the story of Lighthouse Village that I haven't really said before? There's nothing really. It's just since I already explained so much of this story on my channel that it's hard for me to think of something else to describe how it is. Since overall it's just a typical slice of life story of a girl named Tilapia, and how after years of not going to Lighthouse Village, gets to go. Since I haven't really worked this story for a year, I guess, since I've already on my laptop. I mean, I don't really know if it's formatted, since I had different laptops at that time, so yeah, I'm not sure if it's formatted the same way. But yeah, I still remember working on chapters 1, 2, and 3, and a little bit of 4, but maybe I need to rework that, since it's been I think years, 2 years I think. And so yeah, Tilapia, feeling bored over the summer, gets to go back to Lighthouse Village, her favorite childhood place, with her great-grandmother Gigi Sardine, and meet some friends on the way Algae, Piranha, and Cod. And that's how I kind of like to describe it, since I still describe it the same way, but on the top of my head the last time I talked about Escape, since it's the type of slice of life formula where each of the characters get their own subplots, get their own interactions, and it's a whole lot of fun. It just follows that type of formula. And it's also the type of story that relies heavily on the characters more than the actual plot. And so when they started oh yeah, it's also the entire summer, not just the week how usually my family does it, they call it family weekend, but no, this is the entire summer, 3 months at Lighthouse Village. That's what I'm talking about. If my family is watching this, since if you're not part of my family, then you wouldn't really understand. Actually, did my family even watch this? I don't know. And throughout the entire summer, they grow into different people, they develop among each other, and you get to see they become totally different people from the start of the summer towards the end of the summer. And so that's how I like to describe it the best. And if you couldn't tell by the official book title, the book cover that I made for many years, this story is based on, and also it's sort of a tribute. No, it is a tribute to my papa, my grandpa, my maternal grandfather, Raymond White Sr. Yeah, it is a tribute to him, and it would have been so perfect if I actually published this in 2021, which I was planning to do that. I mean, yes, I was planning to do that, since I thought this idea near that time. But I also did the vlogs on 2022. But like it would have been so perfect it was 2021, since that will be like 10 years before he passed. 10 years after he passed. I don't know how to talk. That would be like 10 years after he passed, and so it would have been so perfect. But like, just to make this work, since there's like dates on like when this should be, like when the time is chronologically, and so remember this is all on top of my head. Then like the story takes place in 2021, and so yeah, you get to see like how, like for example in Glass Button Boat, it doesn't start in the present time, it starts like either years later or many years later, since I could do that since it's just a story. And so yeah, I could just tell by the 3 and maybe 4 chapters I made on my laptop, and also some of the notes I written down with. I written down notes for all of the stories, like just to like recap and see like, which plot point did I think of randomly? Like I just tell by both the notes and the chapters overall that this story will be full of emotions and depth, like definitely, and some comedic moments. But yeah, I could tell this is gonna be like a great like growing experience for like both each of the characters and for the audience. And also, since Lighthouse Village itself, since it is a real place in Homer, Michigan, it still holds a special place in my heart ever since I was like 3. I think I remember my parents saying that the first time I went to Lighthouse Village when I was 3. And like I still remember there being some pictures, mostly with my sister, since I mean, even though I think that I developed my feel of fish when I was like 5 or 6 in SeaWorld in Disney World. Like mostly my sister get to like see the fish, and so yeah, I get to fish with Papa, of course. And yeah, this story still holds a special place in my heart, even if it's been years since I've ever got any new ideas for it. Like it still holds a special place in my heart and my mind, of course, since I still remember it today, and I'm still currently developing it, as you can tell. So, as I already explained this before, the naming of the characters, like even characters that aren't main characters, since I sort of done like the whole chapter formula, like I already explained it, that all of the characters, well, like some of the characters, not all of them, like some of them are named after fishes, or like except for Algae, which is named after a type of plant which fits her character since she's a vegan, and you're gonna see later. So with all that discussed, okay, my seat is moving. This is so unscripted. So with all those descriptions out of the way for Escape, let's dive deeper to the character that is named after an African fish, which makes sense to make her African American, of course. Our lead character of Escape, the story of Lighthouse Village, Tilapia. So Tilapia for short is a character that I like to call an adventurous spirit. Like she loves freedom. Like, okay, did I have a hard time describing Tilapia like this before? Since technically she's sort of like a self-insert of the courageous person that I want to be, the courageous and adventurous go-getter that I want to be in life. Like that's sort of like where Tilapia comes in. She represents that part of me that just wants to like get outside and go explore stuff, and like success, for example, she gets easily bored, and she also loves storytelling just like me, and tells story around the fire, and like even the story that is like present throughout, like when she got an idea of like saying, like at the start of the summer she's like, what story should I write? And so throughout the summer she develops this idea of the the captain and the mermaid. Like throughout, like I even started like in like even the first few chapters it was mentioned that she was developing that story over time throughout the summer, and until it was actually present when she told her own version through the campfire. And so yeah, she has a fondness for storytelling similar to me, and she also is really active. She loves sports, especially water sports, which is why, like similar to how I've always wanted to try stand-up paddleboarding. That's what it is. It's in my vision board. I don't want to move the camera. I'm too lazy to do that. Stand-up paddleboarding, which is a main part of her character, which is why I made it an essential part of her AI image that I done. Oh yeah, and also she loves Tookie's sliders. It's her trademark favorite food, but I didn't include that since I thought it would be too minor. And she also has a feel of fish, similar to me, and kind of has that same backstory that I have. Well, it's a coincidence. Like, I didn't know if I'll add it to the subtitles, I forgot to mention this, but like coincidentally, on my SeaWorld trip, Disney World trip, I don't know if it's the same day or not, but I remember during the trip is when my papa passed away. But coincidentally, that was also the time that I developed my feel of fish. Have I ever mentioned that in a video before? Since I don't know if it's my first time exposing myself like that. And so tilapia overall is just that level free spirit that of course has flaws such as her stubbornness to lose her childhood, of course, which is presented when she needs to give away some of her toys, like some of her old toys that have been kept in a cabinet that's been kept in away since she was 3. Oh my god, this is I'm trying my best not to make this seem so much like me, since it feels like I'm describing my own flaws at the same time. But let's just say the fear of losing your childhood. But overall, tilapia is just this lovable explorer type, and my aunt's already loving her so far. It's so far my aunt's favorite, not my favorite character, but of course I still love tilapia since she's the most like me in comparison to the rest of the characters, of course. And probably the last thing to mention is that she does have a summer journal that she writes throughout the story, and so you could get a sense of all the exploration she's doing and dive into her observant mind, and it's a whole lot of fun to do that. Especially when she's diving into some of the aspects of Lighthouse Village that might inspire her with a story idea, since of course I love to gaze at the atmosphere and to gain story ideas similar to that. So similar to what I've done with all the other characters from stories I've done before, even outside of this one, I decided to draw a few sketches of tilapia of what I imagine her to look like in my head. And so if you couldn't tell by this unfinished sketch of tilapia, I based the AI image of her for her aspiration or love of stand-up paddleboarding, since I've always wanted to try to do that as a sport, but who knows, maybe I'll try to do that in the future, since I've seen it tons of times and it looks really cool. So since tilapia is sort of a self-interest of me, I would love to try to do stand-up paddleboarding in my life once in a while. And so, with all of tilapia out of the way, can you tell that I just washed my hair? Yep, this is gonna take a few days, I swear. Let's look at tilapia from Escape, the story of Lighthouse Village, in AI. Okay, so this was me forgetting to address what her swimsuit was supposed to look like specifically. And if you cover the fact that I forgot to specify what her swimsuit is supposed to look like, tilapia looks fine in this. Let's move on since I got nothing really much to say, but yeah, it looks fine. Okay, the only thing I appreciate about this tilapia and why I'm still presenting this to you is the symbol on her swimsuit. That's the only thing that I actually admire from this, and how cool it looks on her character. But other than that, her hair isn't in a ponytail, and she's not in the water with her stand-up paddleboarding, so... Also, the top and how, originally she's not supposed to be showing that much of her midriff kind of makes her look too older than her character is actually supposed to be, which I imagine Tilapia, Algae, and Piranha to all be older teenagers, I suppose. As in between either 16 or 17, so in conclusion... yeah, this is one of the AI images that immediately fails the character. Okay, now this is one of the better tilapia designs. Apart from the shorts being too short and the symbol on the shirt looking uninspired, I actually love the long sleeve designs that I given to her in the first place, and also the ponytail looks amazing in this. There's not really that much bad to say about it, but the extra strands on her, the extra loose strands of her hair obviously makes this be one of my favorite tilapia designs. And last but certainly not least, we got this one, in which I love the swimsuit. Like, even the symbol, which is the second best in my opinion out of the 4 tilapia designs, but the swimsuit by far, like, overall is one of the best, especially the top with the strands on it and the darker shades of blues. It makes it more diverse in that sort of way. Her hair doesn't really look as good as the last picture, but it's still tilapia. Like, it's still the curly ponytail, and like, I just love it. And that'll be all for tilapia. So overall, what I think about these AI images for tilapia is they're not really that bad, and I like only 2 of them. Like, 2 of them, if you couldn't tell, like the last 2 are my favorites when it comes to tilapia's designs, and I think it really turned out really good. And if you're asking why I'm in different spots right now, like, I think I've already mentioned it, that even though it took like months to get all of these characters from 5 different stories, all these AI images took months. Yeah, the recording for this is gonna take days, so I'm just gonna, and I don't want to waste any more time for that, so I'm just gonna be like moving in different spots. Like, it might be day or night in either way time, but like whenever I have extra time and whenever I'm not doing like homework and stuff, I'm doing this. So hello. So with tilapia out of the way, let's move on to the next character of Escape the Story of Lighthouse Village. But I don't know how many times I mentioned this on my channel that she is indeed my favorite character on Escape, Algae. So Algae, my favorite. Can you hear the background noises there? Since like I'm not being professional with this, I just want to get this over with. Since like I've already passed through 1 character and it took like days to get to the next one, so that's how lazy I am. Gonna like be changing backgrounds now. So Algae's core character trait from both before and after is that she is a vegan, which one of the qualities that makes her my favorite, because I love looking at vegan materials and like to build up Algae's character. And like mostly, like that's just why I love Algae so much. Like from a wise perspective, it gives me a chance to be open-minded and look at new perspectives, especially when I made her a Thai descent and also a Buddhist. Like in a wise perspective, it gives me, like Algae gives me a chance to look at all these new materials that I never even discovered before, which is why she's my favorite. Another reason to like about her, like even if you're not the writer, is that she's super sweet and super empathetic towards, and also an expert, both empathetic and an expert at animals and plants. Like even in the notes I wrote down flora and fauna, but it just like summed up to animals and plants, which is one of the reasons why you should like her. And also, and I already mentioned that before I was going, like before in the, like I don't know if it was 2 years or 1 year I made the, where I talked more thoroughly on the Lighthouse, on the Escape the Story of Lighthouse Village characters. Since this is the first time I talked about them before, is that I originally wanted to make Algae like this anxious and like this overly anxious, like Justin Rowling character, if you guys know, like this overly anxious character, but then I sort of toned the anxiety on her character down a bit. Since like at that time my mom got me into watching Camp Cretaceous, and so I originally wanted to, like, yes, I know about the sequel series that is coming up. If you guys know, I forgot what it's called. Is it Camp Theory or something like that? Chaos Theory, if you're familiar with that Jurassic Park Netflix series. And so yeah, at the time when was it 2021? Like yeah, at that time I was getting into Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous, and so I wanted to base her character. And so it also influenced me to make the main cast a group and make Algae's character based off Ben, but then I sort of toned the anxiety levels down on her character today, and so yeah, it's not really based off him anymore, just based on my own perspective of what I learned about veganism and Buddhism and also Thai cultures. One of the reasons why I love making this character. So with Algae's design, I decided that it would be really cute to give her like a fuller face with freckles and also like bluish green eyes. I mean, I don't know if you can tell by this sketch here, but just to make it seem more unique like that. And also to hopefully not make her look like Dora, since I know. So I based the AI creation on this simple little unfinished sketch again. On Algae looking sweet and cute and stuff while holding a lotus behind a lake with, I forgot what that thing is supposed to be. Like, is it supposed to be a baby fish she was taking care of? Or maybe it's a duck, whatever you interpret it to be, since I forgot. And to put it short, Algie is one of the fictional characters of mine that has no flaws when it comes to all of her AI designs, since they all look amazing. And even though I had a really tough time choosing if I like this one or the next one the best, since they both are so good, I appreciate this one the most because of the floppy hairstyle going for it, and it's sort of like similar reminiscing to the bang that I was trying to give to her, as well as just her overall having more of a darker skin tone with overall more freckles than the second one. And the nature design on her shirt is just an added detail to her character that I just love it when AI does that when it's appropriate, you know. And then there's this one, which if you take away the piercings, this actually looks good, since I feel like it's has a much better fuller face, since the face is more fuller and the eyes have more of a hue than before, along with there being much of a cooler and lighter background than the wavy and more darker themes that was before. But still, both looks so amazing and I love them both. And it was a really hard choice for me to actually choose this one, the second one, based on it being more of a lighter and inviting tone than before, but still I love them both. But if I had to choose one, yeah, it'll be the second Algie, but both Algies are amazing, just so you know. So let's give it to my favorite character on Escape, Algie. So I'm just jumping to Piranha while brushing my hair, cause why not? Just to like sort of fit to her beauty standards. Like, I mean, I was always brushing my hair before this, but then I just decided, you know, why not start recording? So here I am, like before school starts, you know. So I remember joking before in the past that I can never come up with any positive traits for Piranha without giving out spoilers, which is still kind of true right now. Since Piranha sort of like belongs in like the witch girl archetype, the city mouse witch girl archetype, like I always no, yeah, city girl and city mouse, which is like a city girl moving to the countryside, which is technically what her character is basically, you know, the type that overpacks though and camping and stuff. Which I don't know if it's stereotypical for me to make her a Dubai descent, given that Dubai is called the city of gold, which sort of fits her because she's rich, but I don't know if that's me being stereotypical or not. But I also have all of Piranha's negative traits, along with her being the type to have horrible neglectful parents. What I can't say is that she is a great dancer. Like, one of the positive traits I can give to her without giving out any spoilers, and she has her own egotistical in-universe theme song of her, which shout outs the nickname she gave to herself, which I still remember this, even though I didn't look up any of the notes, if you can't tell. Let's see if I can still remember this. Tongue twister. Okay, so Princess Piranha, Princess Piranha, Princess Piranha, Power Princess Piranha, okay, yeah, I need to see the notes again. Miss Princess Piranha, Pageant Princess. I dropped my brush, but okay, now I can see why. Yep, she's one of those privileged girls. And overall, she's similar to Tilapia in a way that she is stubborn of losing her childhood. And I mean, with Tilapia, it's like, you know, the basic ordinary childhood, but with Piranha, it's like the high class being treated like everything special. Like, even though her parents kind of neglect her, her servants and maids don't do that. So, like, it kind of gives her like a closed-minded perspective, unlike Tilapia, where like that's sort of the differences between them. And Piranha has like a more closed-minded perspective of being treated like if she's the only thing that matters in life, and you know, just try and get everything that she wants, and gets stranged out by anything that looks new to her. And I mean, like, sort of her hides her insecurities by sort of hides her fear of seeing new things by just overall despising each things that she saw. Like, for example, I already mentioned this before, Algie's veganism, or anything that seems like, even anything that seems old from Tilapia's childhood, she seems weirded out, which another difference from them. And how later, like especially with Algie and Gigi Sardine, she develops more into a better person, which I am not gonna spoil. That's all I'm gonna say about Piranha, since again, like I can't really give out any positive traits for her without spoiling so much, but yeah, she does get better later in the story, and so I can't wait for you guys to see her development. A little fun trivia fact about Piranha's design is that she was based off one of my ex-co-workers at my first job, which I am too embarrassed to say. It's McDonald's. And though I don't remember if I added or seen a beauty mark on her cheek, just like what I've done with Piranha's design. And I do remember the heavy black eyeshadow, if you can barely tell it here from the shading, and how it seems to fit Piranha's character like to have like heavy black eyeshadow, even if I forget to add that detail to the AI image. But yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool and fits her character more, like for modern beauty standards, to have her wear black eyeshadow, but not in the gothic sort of way, you know. And unlike Tilapia and Algae, I only made one sketch for Piranha along with Cod and Gigi Sardine, which are the Western characters for this AI challenge. So let's move straight ahead to the AI drumroll reveal of Piranha, aka Miss Princess Piranha Pageant Princess. Say that loads of times so you can remember that tongue twister. Let's go! And here was the first AI picture of Piranha, and though she doesn't have the beauty mark on her cheek, this one looks alright. I don't blame all the outfit Piranha is wearing in the AI picture to be like too heavy for the summer, since I wasn't really being that specific when I meant like a jumpsuit as in something you put on your swimsuit and not really something that is like gonna burn you up in the summer heat. But yeah, it looks alright, and I can tell that this is more like stereotypically putting in the Dubai focus given the symbol on her shirt, and also the fact that this is the only one where she wears like a little hijab, if you can't tell it from behind her hair. But other than that, yeah, this is alright. I kind of wish that her hair was a little more black than brown, but yeah, it's alright. I have nothing that much to say about it. Okay, this Piranha looks better, but not so much. I mean, the hair color is more accurate to what it's supposed it to be. But the beauty mark on her cheek looks kind of, it looks more like a mole than a beauty mark, even though I sort of generated mole, because the beauty mark, when I type beauty mark, it doesn't really generate that much, so I just said mole, and yeah, it doesn't look that good. But the hairline though is the most accurate out of all the images to what I drew her character out to be, and if it wasn't for the last one I'm gonna show you, I would have chosen this as the best. But it's not, it's second best, and yeah, I still like these a lot. And last picture of Piranha, which out of all of these is the best one. The beauty mark that is placed on her cheek is just perfect, and I also love the little skyscraper in the background, just to detail that she's supposed to be a city girl while still being placed in the country at the same time. And I didn't even mind the new hairline that AI gave to her, since it sort of like highlights more of her glamorous style. And yeah, above all, I love this one the best. And that'll be all for Piranha, and next is now Cod. So, to cheer me up about what I recently discovered, since you're gonna see later that this whole thing has now been out of order, I want to talk about Cod now. Since he's a fun character and might cheer me up, and you guys gonna see later, since yep, now this thing is out of order. So Cod can be described as a fun comedic kid character. Like, he's one of the token kid characters in many of my stories, and by many of my stories I only mean that and Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, which you're gonna see later. You know, that reboot of the Devil's Haunted Hayride. And so in the past, I like to describe him as like this 4-year-old boy who fits in the cute and creepy type of kid character, who acts like, you know, your typical little boy that only Tilapia sees him as more mature and deeper than he appears to be, given that Cod has a precocious crush on Tilapia, in which of course Tilapia doesn't return those feelings back, because if she does, she'll be in jail. And so Cod, both his previous character and his character of today, since they're both different, like both of them is based off a real person, which is a person that I like to call my cousin, even though biologically he's not my cousin. He's like I already mentioned him twice when discussing, you know, what gives me the inspiration of creating the character Cod. He's based off my Nana's friend's son. So I already talked about the odd first impression that happened when he was only 2 years old and I was 13 at the time. And to put it shortly, since not only is this video alone is going to be super long, but since I already mentioned it before, just to put it shortly, when he will usually drop his interaction book for me and my sister to grab, like if he taps on one of us, means he dropped it, and so like he dropped it tons of times when we were driving all the way to Lighthouse Village. And so, in one of the times that he drops his book again, he signaled me to like move closer to him instead of being the naive teenager, like preteen, whatever you call being 13 years old is. I sort of like done that, and then like we like not like we weren't touching, like just he like sort of like grabbed my face, and we didn't, I swear we didn't, like only he initiate, no, like we weren't, I swear we weren't, like he, like all he does like done an air kiss, like he just grabbed my face and so I was like weirded out since like it was kind of an air kiss, I guess. Like I swear to the Buddha, I don't remember it being like that. And then he gives like this really odd smile like at me, and like it was like a weird first impression. It was so like I was so awkward during the entire time. And so for the rest of the time we go to Lighthouse Village, like there's like more times that we interacted, such as when I gave him my green toy train that I've already mentioned before. And I even mentioned before that his real name is Hayride, the inspiration of God. That's his real name. I know I'm being like a huge snitch when I mention this, but don't worry, my family don't watch this. Or do they? Or do they secretly watch my videos on Beauty Stories? I have no clue. But we especially spent more time closer this year, and by this year I mean 2023, in Lighthouse Village, thanks to my parents and my nana, I guess, or maybe her mom too, or maybe all the adults in the room, just seeing how like he will spend time with me and how he will follow me. Like since I remember we done basketball, we did the basketball court, and we played Uno that time. And I like he like my mom even called him my little buddy, my little friend. Like, get your little buddy some ice cream. Like if I was gonna get ice cream, then I was gonna take him. And so one of the things that he said that I only remember because I wrote it down in my notes, and it was the reason why I changed cards so he has the ability to talk now. Since before I said he couldn't talk, but now he can. And it also inspired me to age him up a bit to now he's 5 years old instead of 4. So I changed that. And so I aged Kyle up a bit, and I made him talk, like all because of what happened this summer. And by this summer I mean summer of 2023. And it was during, I forgot if it was after we got ice cream or during when we were playing Jenga or Uno or stuff. When it was about time to leave Lighthouse Village, he was like, "Can we leave tomorrow?" And then his mom asked like, "Why?" And then he was like, "Cause I want to spend more time with her," or if he was talking directly to me. And like it was super cute. And even though I insisted that it was time to leave, it was time to go, he kept on being like, no. And so that's one of the highlights to develop Kaz and Tilapia's friendship at that moment. And also along with his interaction with all the other characters, such as him and Algie, which yeah, I really like that friendship too. And I think I dived more into the friendship before in the other video where we talked about all the characters. But oh yeah, and also him and Piranha, which like I'm trying my best not to give out any spoilers, since like his interactions also mean as much as the rest of the group, and some may induce in spoilers of what helps him grow. And like just the actual inspiration of Kyle, like he's a really cute kid, similar to the character that he's based on. And yeah, so there's nothing really that much to say about two of the AI creators I chosen to present with Kaz design, other than the hard choice to choose which one I like best, since this one shows off more personality within Kaz while giving him like a more lighter skin tone than how I expected. While the second photo, I originally was going to choose this one over the other one based on how the skin tone is more darker, but then when I focus on the first one, which not only does it show him actually holding the ice cream instead of it just floating midair, but it seems like there's actually way more detail when it comes to both the realistic ice cream cone and also the train that is behind them, with once again him having a better personality and like staring up in the air with that face. I love it. So with Card out of the way, Let us hear the update on the heartbreaking news with Gigi Sardine's character that it's time for you guys to see. Okay, I'm sorry that I know that my hair is a mess right now, but by the time I'm recording this, I've sort of like skipped to COD. Like I haven't talked about COD at this moment when I just skipped to Gigi Sardine, since I just wanted to announce that my mom just told me something this morning, and so I feel like in honor of her, I'll just skip to Gigi Sardine at this moment when, like, if you couldn't tell that I'm feeling sad at this moment. Okay, and so first, like, when I was trying to, like, get ready, you know, brush my teeth and do stuff out the bathroom, then, my mom texted me and said to call her immediately when I wake up, since I'm known to be a heavy sleeper, especially during the weekdays, and so, like, strangely enough, I immediately called her, and so, like, she didn't even expect it, and at first I thought it would be, like, something, like, saying that, like, for example, saying that I miss my new school that I'm transferring orientation, since I sort of like rescheduled this orientation from yesterday to May, since I can't really drive there, and so I mean I know that would be terrible news if I miss an orientation, but it would have been better than this news. Like, and so after all the question like why you're off so early or what you're doing, since I was trying to like finish up some work that is like due Monday, so and so I still remember, since this just happened recently, when she said that my Gigi passed away, and I was just like silent on the phone for a while. I was just silent, and like some tears, like even some natural tears, like started streaming in, but I tried to put on a brave face and like act as if I wasn't crying. I even started like pacing around the room, since that usually helps me get my thoughts together. Like, I usually like to pace around the room during phone calls, and I'm glad that I don't have a roommate who knows how I do that. Like, every time in my room or whenever I'm feeling stressed about something, I just pace around the room or just flop around the room. So I told my mom that I was feeling down, and she was just like, you know, it's alright, since she lived a long life, and like she's like over 90 years old, so I can understand. Like, even my family mentioned that we thought she was gonna live forever, but yeah. And she was happy that she moved on, since she was feeling tired, and so yeah, I can understand from that perspective. But yeah, it's so down that knowing that one of the essential characters from Escape that is based on her son, like she never gonna get to see how she was presented in it and how she inspired me to create Gigi Sardine. And so if you're wondering about the character Gigi Sardine, like nothing has changed. She is still alive in the book, but I mean, like in the present time in the book, she's still a character, and yeah, just kind of down, you know. And so, while thinking of the creation for Gigi Sardine, while still thinking of my great grandmother, who is hopefully looking up above and knowing that I'll miss her, since there are like so many like sweet and soul memories I still remember about her. And even like I don't know about be at this funeral, since not only am I in college and I can't drive, but yeah, I still like to put some memories down and how it would affect the book knowing that she's gone. So let's just get into, like, first I need to describe the character Gigi Sardine, and then I need to show you the AI presentations. After I finish up some ice cream and watch some funny videos just to cheer me up some more. Okay. So as I'm sitting here eating salami, like I don't even know how much salami I have left, like 3 to 4 slices more left. Just like clear on my refrigerator since I'm about to go. So as I'm eating my dried up salami, let's talk about Gigi Sardine. So I hope this isn't too distracting. So Gigi Sardine, the character, has always been like this like empowering and interesting character to dive into, since she's described as a healthy old lady who lived a long life, similar to And she also can be described as a generous and insightful person. And what really kind of breaks my heart at this moment is that, like, even like even when since out of all the main characters, only Tilapia and Gigi Sardine appears in the first the first four or three four 4 chapters that I've so far typed on my laptop. And there was this moment that is based on an actual event where Gigi saw when Tilapia was feeling awkward about having physical contact and anything. I mean, I'm not gonna say that she's autistic like me, since it's just left to the imagination. I'm not sure if I'll make her canonically autistic since she's the most like me, but she still has that moment though. And Gigi Sardine will somewhat be it's okay, if she doesn't want to do it, then that's fine. And also she's similar to Algae in a perspective where she's empathetic and understanding. For example, whenever she insisted that the group starts sewing and making crafts, she usually pulls me and my sister to do that. She's empathetic towards Algae and start giving for example bamboo silk and I meant coconut wax. So giving Algae materials such as bamboo silk and coconut wax to do the crafts, since of course she's a vegan. And so yeah, she's the most understanding when it comes to all of their flaws. And knowing that my Gigi actually passed away at this moment is kind of sort of gonna make Gigi Sardine and Palabia's dynamic more sadder, knowing that Piranha grew from Gigi Sardine and sort of developed into a better person. And for example, even though she was acting all funny around her, and for example the candle, which is based off a sort of I don't know if it was an Alice in Wonderland candle that I smelled that kind of smells odd, but it's the nostalgic kind of odd. It's it smells weird, sort of a Christmas carol that I have where my dog Cass was away from it, but even though it smells weird, that I still like the smell oddly enough. And so Piranha, being her close by herself, doesn't really like the smell at first, but then she sort of grew into it, similar to Tilapia, like that. And their dynamic is just full of so much growth, and everything that Gigi Sardine seems they're always full of growth and what changes them from different people for the summer, which is why I'm not getting rid of that character. I'll never get rid of it, and it'll just be one of the memorials to my actual Gigi, who I just learned just passed. And so with that, here was the first AI design of Gigi Sardine. And even though I have a similar feeling with all of these photos, where even though the photos captured the access of Gigi Sardine, it's not really how I expected her to look in each of those photos. But out of all the photos which all had a similar design, I chose this one as my favorite. Based on just that warm look and smile she's giving, along with just all the photos just like this, shows her in a chair and her sewing a quilt that she usually does. And I feel it highlights Gigi Sardine's energy the best, along with my actual Gigi, which I'll miss dearly. Anyways, speaking of someone who passed, I decided to give out a bonus character a chance. Guess who it is? So, as I am prepping to write my obituary, or as they call the memories for my Gigi that I learned just passed, in my mental health journal, because why not? I decided to add in a little bonus character, which is the deceased Captain Legend himself, Raymond White Sr. I think that's what his name is pronounced. According to my nana, his name is pronounced Raymond and not Ramon, like my uncle. And if you're asking, yes, that is his actual name. Like, I use his real name and the character in the book. Like I even wrote it in like the few chapters he's in. He's like in the flashback, which is chapter 2. He's mentioned as Raymond by Singer and not named after a fish. So the Captain Legend himself, the fictional Raymond, as advised by my aunt, is similar to Tilapia in the flashbacks to where he is present, where he is shown to be just as observant as Tilapia is when it comes to the world environment. And due to, of course, being historically accurate to the time phrase that chapter 2 takes place, since I've so far since I said that I went through like at least four chapters, or at least I designed 4 chapters of Escape. In chapter 2, it shows a flashback of what happened like the past. Like, I forgot which year it was, but like it was near when the Captain Legend himself, Little Wayman, as I like to call him, was just a kid. And he was watching this silly little cartoon of what goes on in the South, where this black person with like big lips and like, you know, what's it called, I forgot what I need to recap this. The badly aged cartoons where like these monkey-like creatures with big lips get like comedically get stung by bees and all that stuff when they're at the South, when they're taking care, when they try to like treat out these perfectly designed white people who look normal compared to the black people at that era. And so Wayman just looked sad when he watches this and turns to his mom and be like, "Mommy, am I a monkey?" Like, I'm not kidding, I literally typed that down, and that causes Gigi Sardine to take him out to like my nana, like, just to get advice from her. She said that why he liked Lighthouse Village so much is because it reminds him of that time where he went to like a rural village in Canada with his mother. And so that's why I'm part Canadian. Did you guys know that? My first time saying this. So like, between Lighthouse Village or Canada, like, I'm so deciding like which place should I choose for that flashback. And so like, in that place, he's just as observant as Tilapia is. And yeah, just a little sneak peek, since I remember officially writing that scene down or like typing it in my laptop. And so even though the character Raymond is not alive for most of the story, unless you count the flashbacks, he still holds an essential part of the story itself and what inspired me to make Escape. Yep, the character, and also both the real person who I barely get to know since he passed away when I was just 6. And he also holds deep in the memories to both Tilapia and the rest of his family members, as like his exes is sort of what makes Tilapia Tilapia. And now discovering that at this time I knew, now that my Gigi actually passed away during this time, that I was coincidentally like, get like so excited to talk about Escape until the news broke during when I was about to talk about COD. I guess it makes for a more emotional tone knowing that the mother of the captain finally gets to meet his legend son up in the sky. Yeah, this just got deep. I'll miss them both. And I'll honor this story for the both of them. For both my Gigi and my Papa. I'll honor them both. And so here he is, looking a bit younger than I expected, but trust me when I say this is the most accurate AI image that I got from him. So yeah, even though this can never compare to the real thing, I don't know what else to say about this, but the hat is kind of accurate, or at least the front of it is, with the wings and stuff. Or should I just say the golden pieces in general? And so that'll be all for all the main characters of Escape, the story of Lighthouse Village. I'm sorry my voice sounds kind of shaky. Like, this just turned into a really sad turn now that I know that in the middle of doing this AI challenge, my GG just passed. And so I decided to write this obituary. So to help lighten the mood a bit, let's look at the story that is mostly based on a younger audience, even though anyone can read this story. Like, all of them, except for Freeloader, are family friendly, which is why I sort of discount Freeloader in what I like to call the Britiverse, if you couldn't guess. May we take a neurodiversity journey, or should I say, and at the time of recording this, it's April, which means it's Autism Acceptance Month, so this is the perfect timing to discuss about, for the AI challenge, the next story will be Glass Bottom Boat. So, with Glass Bottom Boat, it has been like a passion project for like a little bit like as long as Escape, but not really as long, since I think the idea started in 2021, thanks to a little, let's say, World inspired friendship, and that I mentioned that I came up with 3 stories that is based on neurodiversity and friendships, the themes of neurodiversity and friendships, and the 2 other stories were Unexpected Hug, which I made an audio story of for my birthday. It uploaded on my birthday. Unexpected Hug, and then Friendship Pay, which I didn't really bother doing. And so I chose Glass Bottom Boat as the one that I want to extend more. So with Glass Bottom Boat, even though a lot has changed from how it is today, the plots, if they're even the plot, since like similar to Escape, is mostly just based on the characters' interactions, not really that much of a plot. The story is still presented the same, which features a glass bottom boat, which is a sapient symbol that symbolizes looking deeper into the surface and being open-minded and curious and diving into new dimensions of life, and how I like to connect that metaphor with neurodiversity like tons of times. Like, I even presented it in a project that I done recently. Here's some photos of it. And so the glass bottom boat itself is like a mini cruise ship designed for like guests, like designed for like little kid guests who are between the ages 3 to 6, which is why all the main kid characters are like between 3 and 6 years old. But I like, due to like in the AI generation, I generate all of their ages to 4 years old, even though not all of them are 4 years old. I'm playing for them like either between the ages of 3 and 6, but you know, just for the AI presentation, I just generated all their ages to just 4. And due to me wanting all my stories, or just stories that I want to take seriously, to be multicultural, the glass bottom boat ship, like it's like the ship, the mini cruise ship is literally just called glass bottom boat because it has a glass bottom basement placed in it. And I like gonna dive more into the world building somewhat soon. I don't know, I'm writing so much down. The creation of the ship is inspired by Estonian history. All thanks to what I learned about the tragic sinking of MS Estonia, the ship that tragically sank. And like, the creation was followed due to like 2 childhood friends, which is the captain of the ship, Captain Maryland, which I didn't generate an AI session for, and the teacher, Irina Unis, or Miss Unis. I just call her by the full name, Irina Unis, Miss Unis, who is the teacher and pretty much the guide to the glass bottom boat also. And I'll probably dive into more of the backstory sometime, like especially when I get to like research more history on Estonia to get like the gist of what story I am presenting within the backstory of the glass bottom boat ship itself. But for now, let's dive into the present, and by the present I mean the late 20 the late 2000s, like between the eras of the late 2000s and the early 2010s is when Glass on the Boat takes place. Like near when I was just a kid, like that's what I meant when I can say that the story can take place at any time. So in Glass on the Boat, the story mainly takes place in the late 2010s to the early, no, the late 2000s, like between the late 2000s and the early 2010s, which is why at the present time when she came a long way, came into form, like in the Glass on the Boat reunion, all of the kid characters will be like in their mid-20s now. And how the kids will get invited into the Glass on the Boat for the entire summer is that first thing you sound like I'm not really sure if I'll make this a permanent thing or not, since I still remember writing this down in my notes that first they need to like send out an audition tape, which sort of like gives a gist like for both the audience to like get to know the characters. I won't be surprised if I ended up deleting that concept out of the story, but like the first thing to do is that like inspired by like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or whatever, is that instead of a golden ticket, the kids will receive like a Glass Bottom Boat keychain to like symbol that they got accepted a ticket to the Glass Bottom Boat. You know, it's sort of like I got like high inspiration from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's what the book is called technically, so I'm just gonna roll with that. Except the kids are not bratty. And what I meant by that is a glass keychain shaped like a boat. And I remember having a fun time writing each of those scenes and their reactions to how they got accepted. Like, probably my two favorites are Nico and Zanesy's, which you'll get to meet those characters later. Oh yeah, and Wyatt too. Alyssa is pretty like basic. She just got handed like out of the silver platter. Like you get introduced to these characters soon. And like my biggest concern, like I want to talk about this later, but my biggest concern is that like since this is generated more towards a younger audience, I had a feel that since it took me a while to come up with 4 other characters that are not the main characters, which are Wise and Empathy, or Empty and Wise, like I got highly concerned that the other 4 characters, that this would be one of those type of shows or type of medias, whatever you like to call it, books, media stuff, where the lead characters, like the main characters that are not lead characters will turn out to be obnoxious and the audience won't like them. Like just to feel that the characters that were not the lead will turn out to be awful. So I hope that you guys will like the characters that are not Empathy and Wise, okay? And speaking of Empathy and Wise, I don't know if you guys saw me like trying to redo the book cover like plenty of times before. Like if you guys probably know or don't know, I mean I'm embarrassed to like, of course I don't have the other book covers that I try to redo over and over again, but like it always stays permanent. Like you never get to see Empathy and Wise's faces on them. And yeah, so here is the unfinished production that I even showed at the presentation that you just saw. Like it always has been just Empathy and Wise staring down without their faces showing, just staring down at like a glass where you see like tons of fishes. And also I do the neurodiversity symbol because of course they did, as you know, just a part of the glass protection to connect those two together. And yeah, I do this like many times. The only difference is that their hands are now holding, and also the texture on Wise's hair isn't really that curly anymore. If you can't tell, like there's not really much of a curly texture like the previous photos that we've done plenty of times. Like if you guys are seeing like this in real life, or like since I try to like use pencil sketches, or like my writing professor even noticed that I use some oil pastels in that as well, but like I can't get that texture like I did before, the whitish brown texture. Like it just kind of looks brown, and I don't know if that's just the lighting, but yeah, that texture doesn't really look that much anymore. But other than that, yeah, this is just a preview of the book cover of Glass Bottom Boat. And so let's check out some of the preview AI art as well, since like there was many times that I tried to like swap the personalities a bit, like if I want Wise to be the autistic one or if I want Empathy to be the autistic one. But you know, we need more goals, autism representation in our lives. And also because I kind of got offended when last semester when my psychology professor said that autistic people can't empathize or feel emotions, and that is not true. Since I can feel emotions a lot, like you just saw me kind of felt down about what happened with my Gigi, and so yeah, that's a lie. So why not have an autistic character be named Empathy? And so here are the previous AI images that I generated while drawing the new book cover of those two. And while I don't really appreciate the whitewashing, since I forget to mention this with my AI art I done with these two, that Empathy and Wise has an ambiguous brown skin tone, if you couldn't tell by the book cover. All I'm gonna say is that Wise's hair design here with Empathy looks far better than his solo AI design. And so, with those two characters out of the way, let's dive into my favorite character of Glass Bottom Boat, which I'm not just saying that because she's the lead, since it's proven on Escape that since Alice is my favorite and she's not the lead, so yeah, I don't favoritize my favorites based on if they're the lead or not. I just like them overall, like especially with Empathy, since I base so much of her character based on my younger self, so I love her so much. And I just spoiled who character it is, so here is Empathy. So Empathy, as of today, has become such a complex character that it'll be hard for me to describe each and every one aspect of her without making this video even longer than it is, since I think I passed an hour now. So just to get a few little details out of the way, Empathy is an Irish descent despite her not really looking Irish with the stereotypical red hair and green eyes. Like, I was just like, nah, I think it'll look better if Empathy looks the way like that instead of the typical Irish stereotype. Also because I swap Wise and Empathy's personalities like tons of time, like I decided, and since Wise has more wedge hair, you could tell that he was kind of like Irish, but then I swapped it to Empathy since once again we need more gold representation. So Empathy is autistic. I should have just said that from the start, since that's like the whole point of this neurodiversity journey. Empathy is canonically autistic in this story, and so she loves her Irish background and heritage, and always visiting Ireland for the summers throughout her 3 years until her 4th year. I mean, I'm still deciding which age they are, but like for her short amount of years, she visits Ireland to admire her heritage. This year, she gets to go to the Glass Bottom Boat, which kind of distresses her a bit, but you know, when meeting friends, she gets used to it. And it also touches with her love for marine life and always like visiting aquariums, like something that I would never do. Like, that's something different between me and Empathy. Like, she would just admire and stare into aquariums and like just gaze into the beauty of the marine underworld that only she gets like admire, like the abstract texture of how each fish interacts with each other. Like, she notices like those little details in the undersea world, and yeah, it'll be nice to explore that, you know, something that I would never do in my life if I was still selfish as a kid. And one of her trademarks is that like each time she wears this orange life vest and kind of like squeezes it or presses it whenever she gets distressed or something, like she always wears it around her. She rarely takes it off throughout the entire story. She never takes off her orange life vest, and it always reminds me of like, it was around 5th grade where I always wear this lavender raincoat jacket. I always call it my favorite lavender jacket that I would wear even when it's not raining. And when people would usually compliment me like, hey Brittany, I like your purple jacket, then in my head I'll be like, it's lavender! And I'm still kind of bitter that I never got to say goodbye to my lavender jacket before my parents just donated or threw it away or something, so like they never fitted. How? Another feature about Empathy is that the entire story, the entire like novel, if you call it a novel or something, is that the entire novel takes place in her first person point of view. And so it's similar to Escape with Tilapia's Summer Journal, except it's gonna be the entire story with just Empathy's point of view, and at times some other details that Empathy may not have noticed that might get like story ideas. I don't know how to describe it. And so yeah, I can't wait for you guys to meet Empathy and how she develops over time in the story, and how she develops from like this small, elegant, mouthy kid who thinks like, I don't know how to describe it, like kind of judges certain things about each of the kids, like for example. and kind of has this think that she's better than everyone else mentality, when deep down she is a really kind and compassionate person who grows to like each and every one of these people I met. Like, even the people which she thought she may not get along with at first, like, it's so empowering, and I can't wait for you guys to meet empathy. And here was the first test image of empathy in her Irish heritage. And even though this was a test, I love how adorable she looks with the generated bangs and the sand on her knees. And I don't know what she's holding, or is that just a bracelet or something, but it looks so cute. And here's the second generated image of empathy, and though I love her hair, it looks super pretty. There was nothing really that much to say about it other than looking more like CGI animation or something. I still like this empathy too. Despite this empathy's hair looking more straighter than how I picture it in my head, I'm still giving this one a mention due to that face she has and how odd she looks when staring at this glass bottom. Actually, it's not really at the bottom, just on the sides, but you know what, it's still like just a special room that AI generated it for her. So yes, all of these look cute and in character for her. Okay, now this empathy and the whole image itself looks so gorgeous. I don't know why, but it's just the bangs and the reflection from the glass you see of her looks like just so majestic. And also, one thing to also mention is the tiny little detail you see of how she's like moving her hands and sort of fidgeting, and which is a great attention to detail if you look at it closely like that. But nothing, and I mean nothing, can come as close to how majestic empathy looks in AI in the final photo over here. There are literally no words and nothing that I can describe how beautiful and gorgeous this empathy looks. Like, even just the smallest details, such as how her hands are kind of seen flapping if you couldn't tell by the sudden movement lines from the reflection, or just how much her golden eyes pop out of the scene where she is like staring at all over something, which based on my Generation 2 AI, I said a glass by the boat, but since it's like behind her, but you know what, like this just makes it look even more gorgeous. Seriously, this isn't just the best empathy AI image. This is literally like one of the best AI images that I have ever done, especially throughout this entire challenge. I just can't even describe it. Empathy just looks so good in this. And with all that astonishment out of the way, let's move on to the next character. So why? Similar to empathy, like over time he started to grow more of a character other than, like, since I swapped the personality tons of times, so like his position, like he became more than just the sweet kid who was gonna be the best friend of the autistic kid of whoever was gonna play that part. So Wise is an overly sweet and curious kid character that, to contrast his empathy, he loves the sky and is scared of fish, which one thing me and Wise have in common that me and empathy doesn't. His entire family owns a bakery shop which delivers this sweet and warm atmosphere to both his character and along with his family as well. And since this is a family business, of course, Wise will at times help out with the bakery, which is when we get introduced to one of his bigger character's flaws, which whenever he would ask like kind of like silly, unnecessary questions. I mean, sometimes it's important, like since he's just a kid after all, so sometimes he'll ask like questions, like necessary questions, like how many sugars we should put in this cup, or something he'll like be like pretty dim and be like, what's a cup? And he will go as far as to ask customers all these like kind of like kiddish questions, like what's the pinch of salt, what's black? No, that's too stupid, but like that's kind of like Wise character to always ask like silly questions, since he is a curious kid. So I'm like driven this curiosity to his biggest flaw, which give Wise's parents an idea to give him like this book with this whole journal where he can like put any questions he would like to ask, like especially when he's on the glass bottom boat, and it's called the Journal of Infinite Wonders. And overall, Wise is just this sweet, good natured, and noble kid that you guys are soon gonna love. Especially when you get in touch with more of his emotional side, since he, like, out of all the kids, he is prone to be the most emotional. Like, especially in the scene where it's a pretty sad scene where when he was crying over to Miss Unis and saying that he thinks that Empathy doesn't want to be his friend, like, and Empathy was watching this, and yeah, it was so sad to me. Not saying that I know how it feels, but I know how I caused that feeling to happen. And even the Journal of Infinite Wonders that he writes his questions over develops over time when he starts writing less stupid things once his and Empathy friendship begins to grow. And yeah, you get to see like the connections later on. And you know what? Let's just dive into Wise, since yeah. So, despite Wise's whitewashing throughout all of these AI images, due to like similar to Empathy having an ambiguous brown skin tone, but I guess it's probably because I gave him like deep blue eyes, only because that William Black song, Deep Blue, is like forever like in tune in my head, even though it's not really anymore, but still it holds such a beautiful message and part of me. I will say there was nothing really that much to say about this Wise other than he looks cute just like leaping on the bench like a frog or something and sitting in that kind of position as if he's a frog just about to leap. But yeah, nothing much, just that he looks adorable. While this image is another cute one similar to the last one, except the hair was much more larger, with nothing else to say, but he looks cute playing with that little cruise ship. This one is also nothing too special except for the kind of unique facial feature I gave to him. But yeah, that's just about it. So let's move on to the best one out of all these uninspired photos of what Wise will look like in AI. Okay, so what makes this Wise most unique and special to the others that I chose in this one as my favorite is due to the little bracelet he has. It looks really cool. Along with the adorable look he's giving to the audience, that seems like kind of like a Wise thing to do. Like, I meant the character Wise. I mean, he does get wiser later in the story, get it? But Wise the character, like, he just has like this curious and exploration look to him, and yeah, this is one of the reasons why I chose him as one of my favorite one. As no, not one, just my favorite one that I chosen. And plus, out of all of them, he looks the most tanner. So yeah, we'll give it to this AI Wise. And so next is Nico. Nico! I don't know why I just done that. So Nico's name, character design, and just overall character in general is actually based off a real person that I went to kindergarten with. And both me and my parents could never forget what I've done at that time, since when I was much younger, I was much more wildier and stuff on the spectrum. And so just to give you a brief perspective on what happened with the real Nico, and like how this story just inspired me to make a character out of him and sort of like exaggerate a bit of the recreation of this story, or how except it's Empathy and not me, along with some following changes that I need to do just to recreate this moment in the story. And so it also changed into a major character and add traits that I might not be accurate with him. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, let's continue. So the story begins with me and my old friend, like, we were like in the kindergarten playground and stuff, and so then Nico walks up to me and made fun of my big belly button, since at the time, like before I got in surgery when I was 8, I know, before I got belly button surgery when I was 8, my belly button used to be huge. And it was popping out my shirt like always, and so Nico made fun of me, and so when he did that, I bit into his arm, like I bite his arm off, I bite his arm, and then I got like some sort of trouble. I can't really remember since it was kindergarten, but I still remember that happening. I can never forget that. And so years later, like when I was like a preteen, or like I remember like years later, I forgot what time it is, like when I was a preteen or something, like it was a long time. So my mom like came to my room and like sort of like showed me like this a phone call from my old kindergarten school that that I actually didn't return back in first grade. In first grade, I went to my sister's elementary school instead. But like back at my old elementary school, I bit a kid named Nico, and it wasn't like no ordinary bite. It was like the school called my mom, and like I don't even know why it took so long for this phone call to receive, but she said that I literally bit off his skin. And like my mom was like if I should be in trouble or not, since that was like years ago, and I've grown so much from that. And so like I've been so much in trouble if that phone call came earlier and stuff. But like it should be Nico's fault for making fun of my big belly button and stuff. But yeah, it was like so long ago. And in Glass Bottom Boat, since it's supposed to be a story and I've exaggerated some moments, Nico literally gained a prosthetic arm after what Empathy done. But let's take the real Nico out of the equation. So Nico, the character from Glass Bottom Boat, is portrayed as more of a fun-loving but mischievous party guy who lives in a tiny little apartment with his parents barely around, and so he throws a last day of summer party at his apartment room, and it annoyed the neighbors so much. And like that scene, like this is one of the reasons why I say that Nico's reaction to receiving the Glass Bottom Boat keychain was one of my favorites. Since I'm not gonna spoil too much of the scene, but it was hilarious how they literally like purposely like pop all the balloons until the Glass Bottom Boat keychain actually fell out in one of them, and Nico receives it and stuff. And I'm already spoiling so much, but yeah, it's like a fun time. Like if this ever gets recreated as a stage musical, then there needs to be a song called Go Nico Go, and it needs to be like purposely loud enough where like they purposely pop all the balloons in the room, and like even the neighbor gave out like such a funny line. And so if anyone were to ask me if Nico is a bully character, since like based on the story that I told you about, the real Nico, it seems as if such, and also because I've sort of recreated that character in him, all that I'm gonna say is no. Like I would disagree that Nico is a bully character, and even if some may claim that Nico is the bully character once they read the final project, or like even if he was gonna be just a bully character, I will describe it as just a fun-loving bully character. The reason why I say that Nico is not a bully character is because like once you get to like see deep down inside his character, you get to see like the answers that Nico, just like the rest of the characters, are kids. Like Nico is just a kid, and he would say things that normally he wouldn't meant. Like he would just say anything that comes into mind without thinking thoroughly of what he's saying. And throughout the story, not only do you see his struggles with using his new prosthetic arm that he gets thanks to Empathy, but you also get to see him grow into more of like just this lovable oaf type of goofy character more thoroughly, instead of just being the bully. Even though he's not really much of a bully, as he is just being a kid. And before we get to the reveal of Nico and AI, I just want to say that one of the parts that I enjoy when writing is his dynamic with all the other kids. And how fun it is to write both his teasing and snarking lines to each one of them, especially when watching their reaction videos. And I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, most of the best Nico parts are just his interaction with all the other kids, and yeah, it'll be tons of fun doing that. And so with all that said, let's get into Nico in AI. And here was the first AI image of Nico, where there's not really that much to say about it, since this and the one that I chosen as the official one looks identical to itself. But the only reason why I displayed this as the honorable mention is that out of the two photos that I showcased for AI Nico, this one has the best looking prosthetic arm of all. Okay, so there's a lot of reasons why I chose this Nico as the best looking one. For starters, I think that the side way caps fit him the best, more than just the front way cap. Also, I just love the childhood innocence in his face along with the toy ship. Just also goes to show you that Nico is just a kid, which is why I'm not considering him a bully character, since like just look at that face. Would you assume anything different? And speaking of a love for appearances, or whatever the next segue should be, here goes our next character, Alyssa. pretty Alyssa, and coincidentally, I'm wearing a all pink shirt just to match the theme of Alyssa's character. So Alyssa is a character that I like to describe as the nice kid version of Puana from the previous story, but that wouldn't be screaming about the barrel. So to start us off, Alyssa is named after one of my classmates ever since first grade, and unlike Nico, she looks not Alyssa in the story and Alyssa in real life looks nothing alike, unlike Nico. Since the Alyssa that I named this character off of actually has red hair and is Caucasian, while the Alyssa in the story is a brunette with a Brazilian ethnicity, which I'm not sure if that will be necessary, if that will be like a huge part of the story if she's Brazilian or not, but I mean, I just find that overall a pretty design, so I'm just like, yeah. And even though there was like nothing really that much eventful with me and the real Alyssa, unlike what happened with Nico, the reason why I chose her name out of any of my classmates who, like, I'm gonna mention this part later, is that like I still remember in 5th grade in one of the group projects when I got paired up with the real Alyssa. She was like kind of cool, and I mean, I kind of forgot, but I remember her being like actually a really cool person outside of her friend group, and so yeah, I felt like I only chose Alyssa because her name out of anyone else sounds the best to me, since there was a lot of times, especially in elementary school, where some of the popular girls from my elementary school were really nice to me, even if I don't know if they were faking it or not. I mean, like, even during middle school and high school, even though we weren't really as close, like, some of them, I mean, one of them I consider to be, like, the one that was the most closest to in elementary school until, like, of course, life happens. Let's just say that. Like, they still treat me nice. And so with that, and to also suffer from the typical spoiled witch girl trope, I created the character Alyssa, and to also give out positive representation to hyper-feminine traits within her, since like you see a lot of times in media where hyper-feminine, like extra girly people are like presented as brash and evil and stuff. But like Alyssa knows that she's girly and like she knows that she's pretty, but she's humble about it the most. Like out loud, she's humble about it. But like you're gonna see later in her AI design, which like I only attempted to do once, since like when I done it multiple times, the prompts got blocked, and then I tried to do another scene, but that one does not look good, trust me. So Alyssa, ironically, given her background, is actually the most unproblematic kid out of this entire story. Yes, even more unproblematic than Wise, thanks to his flaw of always asking too many questions. Like, Alyssa is the most unproblematic out of all of the kids. But that won't make her be a bland character, since given her chill and passive atmosphere of all things that are her standards, she does get mad at times when she loses some of her chill, like especially when interacting with Nico. And like one of my favorite scenes is where she even confronts Empathy. Like her and Nico doesn't get along, just to get that background detail. And so like one of my favorite scenes, that I'm gonna spoil it, is that after Empathy bites Nico in the arm and he needs to go to the hospital, and like all the kids are like worried about what's gonna happen with Nico, Alyssa calls out Empathy on trying to hurt him, and like it was seen as something powerful, since like in the rest of the story she is seen as just this chill and passive girl, but like it really does show that like even towards the people she doesn't like, she has sort of like this moral compass, and it can really show that Alyssa can be her own character outside of just being the subversion of the spoiled little witch girl. She's just like Alyssa is just Alyssa. She's chill and passive, and she does know her wealth and her good looks, but deep down she has a moral compass and the most unproblematic kid. I already said that, and she's really sweet and gives out great advice. And also Alyssa is presented to be super generous to her mates at her luxurious summer home, where the reaction takes place when she received the glass bundle keychain. And that will be just about it to sum up Alyssa. But before we get into the one and only AI image I done for Alyssa, I just want to describe why there was only one. And so let's get this started. So originally when I set up the prompt, there was only 2 images that showed up, and I chose the best one, which is the one you're gonna see later, of Alyssa in her little cute pink summer dress. Originally it was gonna be a swimsuit, but AI kind of blocked that out, since I can understand why. Like, of course you want to block out some of the creeps who want to see a 4-year-old in a swimsuit. But at the same time, it kind of detriments Alyssa's whole character, and that she knows that she's pretty, but like through her outfit she kind of like exposes herself like that, but she won't say it out loud. And she expresses how pretty she is through her outfits and by how she appears, instead of just, taunting everyone by how pretty she looks. She just like flaunts it and shows it rather than just tell it, since she's presented as humble like that, but at the same time she knows it, and she flaunts it, but she won't brag about it. Since that's just Alyssa, she's just too nice to do that. And so when I want to see the other prompts of Alyssa just chilling in her summer dress, like you're gonna see later, AI blocked out all of the other prompts, and so yeah, I can't use that prompt anymore. Like it's like AI trying to tell me like one minor in a summer dress is enough. And then I want to recreate the scene where Alyssa is seen like crazy, like jumping up and down and screaming when her celebrity crush named Bob, I'm not joking, I literally named the character Bob, since they're like a children's band, a band for children, and the Rocket Winter band was going to be performing live on the glass by the boat. And so Alyssa was super excited since she gets to see her celebrity crush named Bob. I know. And during one of their songs performances, Bob drew his special CD player, or what's it called, special disc, that's what it's called, his special DVD disc at Alyssa, and it chopped her head off. No, I'm just joking. That would have been weird. Nah, Alyssa caught it and then began screaming that, "Hey, Bob noticed me!" and something like that. And so I tried to recreate that on AI, and it looks horrible. Like her little bun that she has, it keeps on like flopping all over the place, and it was the wrong kind of messy, and her facial expression looks so cursed. Like, I removed any evidence of what I have done with Alyssa. Trust me, you do not want to see that. But the only Alyssa photo that I managed to got still out of all of the blocking and the horror scenes still looks pretty, and it still captures Alyssa's essence. And so let's analyze the only Alyssa AI. And with all that AI can muster, I am glad that this is like the one and only Alyssa design, since her outfit is just so gorgeous and just reflects her flowy personality, as well as the messy bun that I gave her, just to seem as if she is the most chill and down-to-earth character, while also representing her girly personality and her feminine traits. As if you can tell that Alyssa is the type of chill and passive character that knows that she is pretty both inside and outside, and I love this design so much. And so I'm glad that with all the trouble that I had with contouring only this design, this still looks perfect and it still reflects Alyssa the way she is. Okay, so there was a reason why I immediately changed Wyatt's character like midway through when I was making this video. And yes, if you're shocked to know that Wyatt's name is actually spelled with an I, then that's not the only bad luck thing he has, because like old Wyatt, that's literally his character. He's just the punching bag of the group. And while the new Wyatt is still a punching bag, the old Wyatt, like that's literally his only main trait to him. He just gets tortured a lot throughout the trip, and like in the reaction, he is shown to have horrible friends, and in a comedic way though, because at the last day of school, his friends pranked him by hanging up all his pants in the school flagpole and say that, if he doesn't get them fast enough, then he's gonna get expelled or something. I need to look over my notes again. And while I am still keeping that aspect in the story, like, nah, it's too funny to get rid of. Like, just the old Wyatt is such a shallow character that it's really hard to describe him. So it was really hard to come up with a design for just a character that is just made to get tortured a lot. And so one of the added traits I tried to add to the old Wyatt just to give him more character is to make him be religiously a Christian, just to like mock the fact that I've converted my religion to a Buddhist. But then I feel like many people will see this as offended, so I kind of removed that aspect of Wyatt. So if you couldn't tell from all these old Wyatt designs apart from the cringy first one, the design that I was going for with old Wyatt is just average little white boy with blonde hair. So with the old Wyatt barely getting any character, that just gave me an idea to, I'm not gonna spoil it now, I'm not gonna tell you what I changed about how the new Wyatt got developed into making him more of a three-dimensional character. Let's just say that as of now, Wise and Alyssa are the only male typicals and able-bodied kids in this entire trip, so let us get introduced to what I've done with the new Wyatt. Yes, I made the new Wyatt be black and an albino character to like contribute to some of the lack of albino representations in media. And also just mainly just the contribute of Nico not being the token black kid. Now there's two black kids, Nico and Wyatt. So to dive into more of Nico's new character, it's pretty much similar to his old character where he's the punching bag, except, you know, just to like respect people with albinism, I sort of like toned down the why am I mixing up my terms? The Wyatt torture, like I need to like tone the Wyatt torture down and plus give him some actual things that he needs to overcome in this trip instead of just being like just made there to just be the comedic punching bag. He actually has character now. So the new Wyatt, apart from still being the punching bag, is still a nice and intelligent kid who, thanks to what I have learned from my multicultural children's literature course that I took last semester, Wyatt is more in tune in following the history of his African roots, specifically Ghana, which is a country in West Africa. And especially the darkest moments in Ghana's history, such as the Cape Coast Castle, which used to house slaves. I know I said I was gonna aim at a younger audience, but I saw it in a children's book, and one of the children's books that I chosen for my project, and so yeah, I hope this book that I was trying to aim at a younger audience doesn't get banned like the Tango Takes Three book about the gay penguins. Like, don't worry. Which kind of gives Wyatt more of a cynical tone add to his character now, since I can imagine like this scene playing out. Okay, children, let us all name all the kind of ships that we do know, not counting the romantic kind, okay? So let's see. So there are cruise ships. There are what other ships can you name? More slave ships. Miss Unis, what are slave ships? And it will be really fun to have the glass bottom boat take them to Ghana, just so Wyatt can show off his historical side of him, apart from being just a punching bag. Like I said, I gave him more character. And so hopefully with all of that said, let us get into the new design character for Wyatt, with an eye. Okay, so apart from the heavy clothing and his skin being a little bit too tan for someone with albinism, I actually like this Wyatt design a lot, along with the details with the fallen ice cream that's on the ground that I added to all of these Wyatt designs. And I would have almost chosen this as my favorite if it wasn't for the next one that you're gonna see now. Okay, so not only does this Wyatt fit the character design, but he looks even more cuter with the little ice cream going around his lips, like a milk mustache, I should say. And I don't know what else to say about this Wyatt. I mean, the fur and the shirt is looking fresh. And the earrings, though, I am not sure if it fits for a little boy. It's still kind of alright. And overall, it just beautifully fits the character of the Wyatt as of now. So let me introduce you to our last kid character, who is a bit, let's say, zany. Let's get introduced to Zainzy! So Zainzy, I always feel that she will be like the type of comic relief character that kids will enjoy, but the adults will be annoyed at. But she has more character than just being the oddball and bizarre one out of the kids. So first off, Zane Z is named after, oh, who am I kidding? Who named the kid Zane Z? She's named after no one, just, I guess, like, what's it called? Like an alternative? The name is obviously based on the word zany, which that's what she is. Like, I honestly made that name up, and speaking of the parents who named her, like, even though they only made a brief appearance to give Miss Eunice Zane Z's ADHD medications, like, after the glass bottom boat left off, Zane Z's parents actually got excited that their highly eccentric kid got taken off, and so, like, they were like once the boat takes off, they were like super excited that they don't have to deal with Zane Z's craziness anymore. And then Nico's parents started joining them and celebrating too, and so back to Zane Z as a character, she is just this bubbly, spacey, and she easily gets excited over everything that she sees. And I even tried forming her character to make her like the ditz of the kids, like a ditzy, like, you know, the dumb blonde, except her hair isn't really naturally blonde due to her ethnicity. Like, she just accidentally got her hair bleached in an accident. And she also loves to think that she's in a cartoon, like similar to that of Dora the Explorer, where she loves to sing. She has an excellent singing voice. And she also loves animals a lot. Why I say a lot like that is because she literally sees any type of animal she sees as her friends, and even kept like this pet worm, which of course, like any worm, doesn't really see or think that that the worm is being adopted by like an eccentric little girl. And she especially gets obsessed with the towel animals she sees on the glass bottle boat. Like since I've been on cruise ships tons of times with my family, and so the towel animals that are just sitting in the bed that are like pre-made and stuff. Like Zane Z of course gets like bouncy and excited and snuggles them, which is what I based the AI art for. And there's even a towel animal puppet show, which I've been to once, which comes right after the Rocket Widow Bear performance, which I already mentioned that Alyssa has a crush on one of the band members. And so after that, I just mentioned 2 performances that are gonna happen on the glass on the boat. You can tell that the rest that I haven't mentioned before is just gonna be as fun as those 2. But the last thing I want to mention about this adorable oddball Zane Z, adorable zany oddball Zane Z. But later in the story, you can tell that Zane Z has more depth to her than just being the oddball comic relief character. Such as when you look deeper into her character, you can tell that she knows that she's weird, but doesn't really care what others think, and that she's proud to be like this weird bullshit thing. But at the same time, she can feel hurt when she accidentally feels as if she's left out. Which I'm not gonna spoil that scene or any of the more powerful scenes with Zane Z's sharing out more depth to the audience and her original character of just being like this smiley, like happy-go-lucky, like oddball ghost. But yeah, I'm just gonna say that later in the story, you'll see that Zane Z has more depth than she presents herself to be. And so with all that out of the way, here comes Zane Z! So despite the facial expression being the least Zane Z out of the rest of the images, I just gotta say, my goal is rocking the messy pigtails puffs with the bangs too. They look fresh. And even though none of these images gave a real depiction of what real towel animals look like, which I'll show you the pic here, Zane Z is still super adorable in this, which is why I'm featuring this image as the honorable mention. Okay, of all the Zane Z's, this one looks the most adorable, despite her looking a bit nude in this one. I mean, where are the clothes? And I adore the added animal puffs to her hair. It really fits her nature so much. And though the hair texture is pretty strange, as if it's like fabric and towel itself, I still think this is the most adorable Zane Z out of the bunch. But it doesn't really reflect her personality as much as the next one, the official one that you're gonna see. Bam! So similar to the last photo, it seems as if her hair texture has that fabric felt onto it. But outside of that, I don't even mind that towel animals, like the rest of the images, it's not accurate to what an actual towel animals look like. Just look at Zanesy's face with the towel animals. It looks so adorable. Or should I say puppet, whether or not this fits Zanesy's perfectly. Hi, slightly sober me here back again. And so while the roots of her hair isn't really as black as I expected to be to detail what her natural hair color is supposed to be, just Zanesy's overall open like smile like that along with the puppet just completes me. And all in all carries this photo into being the best Zanesy one. I swear to the Buddha, if I get a random call about my 5th grade teacher that is based off Miss Unis passing away, just like what coincidentally happened with my Gigi and Gigi Sardine when I'm talking about Miss Unis, then I don't know what to do. So as you guys just mentioned, as I already mentioned before, Miss Unis is based on my 5th grade teacher, which is actually my favorite teacher, or one of my favorite teachers. Because of my middle school teacher, but like overall, like especially in elementary school, she's my favorite teacher and overall. And even if I sometimes will see her as number 1 when some of my other teachers, she is always gonna be placed like the top 3 of my favorite teachers. But just being this sweet and kind and understanding person, and ironically, I didn't name my 5th grade teacher after Miss Unis. I actually named her after the Nurse Corbell, since my 5th grade teacher's name is Mrs. Corbell, and so instead of naming her after the actual person that is based off her, ironically I named her after the nurse. And also Dia, if you can count, she came a long way, which technically she does appear in this story, but just as a newborn after Nurse Corbell got pregnant on the ship and she gave birth to Dia. Her name is now Dia Corbell, and she appears as one of the friends to Kuwashi. Yes, that's her new name, since once again, the reason why I'm not including She Came a Long Way is that I am still working on the updated version of that story without Oak, and just to combine Zoya and Santushi's character into Kuwashi. And yeah, so both Nurse Corbell and Dia Corbell are named after my 5th grade teacher. But okay, back on to Miss Unis, which I honestly don't know where I come up with Unis. Like, I don't know if it's like an Estonian thing or like I kind of forgot. I mean, I even tried something it out, but like I don't even know. I forgot where I came up with Miss Unis. So Miss Unis is presented as both the guide and the kid's emotional intelligence teacher, who is above all the mediator of any situation and cares for each and every one of those kids. And while Miss Unis most of all shows her maternal and caring side of all things, there are times where she can show up her more spunky and funny and snarky side. I mean, not in a bad thing, just as in a teasing way, which you're gonna see later in the AI presentation that I'm gonna show you. And she also has a deep love for her Estonian heritage, as Empathy does with her Irish heritage and Wyatt does with his West African Ghana heritage. Which I still need to do more research of Estonian heritage just to get the world building of the glass bottom boat so far. But as of now, while I move out of this stupid place, since thank goodness I am about to move out of this city, like everything bad has happened to me. So while I move out and you're never gonna see me in this place ever again, let's get to Miss Unis, the last character for Glass Bottom Boat. So in the first one, why are all your students white? Huh? You're hiding something, Miss Unis? Huh? Okay, but for all serious, since Miss Unis is one of those characters that I never thought of giving a distinct design for, if you can tell by how I written her as just Estonian woman. So I will get credit for this first image that the hair is actually looking really good, and that I am going to use that frizzy hair texture as part of Miss Unis' distinct design, so I will get credit for that, so thank you AI. And though this Miss Unis doesn't have the same updated hair texture as the rest of Miss Unis's, I will give credit for this being the first Miss Unis image to have a desegregated classroom. And if it wasn't for the last one that I chose as my favorite, this would have been the one that would have the best expression on her face. But for as of now, it's just basic. Okay, so this is one of my favorite Miss Una's design, with the only flaw being that it's too basic to the next one that I chose you're gonna see. Because so far, the only definite thing that I can judge it on is the hair being frizzy and detailed, inspired by the first AI image, since I love that hair so much. But outside of just the hair, I really appreciate AI trying to incorporate emotional intelligence on the board, even though it's spelled wrong because it's AI, to show her as someone who is teaching or relating to that subject itself. And so yeah, nothing really that much to say about it, but if it wasn't for the next one, then this would have been my favorite overall. Okay, so I know that this last image is similar to the previous one, but that's sort of like the point. Everything is similar except for the facial expression. I guess you could say it's both a combination of the second image personality and the third image's look. There was just something about her body language and the way she's looking up at the glass sky boat that you could just tell that she's interacting with the children in her own unique way, similar to the Miss Unas in my story, that balances out both kindness and mischief in her own way. And you're gonna see that her personality is sort of like that once you get to see how she interacts with all the kids, since she loves each and every one of them both, and her goodbye speeches to each and every one of them has got to be one of the more emotional moments of this story compared to all the rest of them. So with all of that, that'll be the inclusion of Miss Unas along with all of the main characters of Glass Bottom Boat. So that'll be all for the neurodiversity conclusion of Glass Bottom Boat. Along with the fact that this is probably going to be the last time you'll see me in this place, since, yep, I'm moving out and I am never coming back to this school ever again. I'm just saying that. And so as we conclude Glass Bottom Boat, which I really need to speed this up since my mom is downstairs to help me pack, tell me move out, let's cut this segue to the next story, which you don't even know how excited I am to finally discuss about the reboot of the story that you saw me talk about earlier, like this Halloween, the Devil's Haunted Hayride, and along with the Legend of Harold Blake, which I didn't write a story for. It's just like you're gonna see the images of that concept. Like it's like a reboot crossover of both of those stories combined. Like you don't even know how excited I am to tell about it later. Here is Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. Guess who's back in her old studio? So 2 stories down, 3 more to go, and I already mentioned this back when I used to live in that horrible place. You don't even know how excited I am to talk about Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. So a little fun trivia fact is that I actually thought of doing the reboot of The Devil's Haunted Hayride, which is the story that I reacted to a couple of months ago, back on October, and The Legend of Harold Blake, which is a story that I never got into write about, but you'll see the concept design later. Like, I thought of doing a reboot crossover of both of those stories combined before I thought of the title. And so at the time when my first philosophy essay was rolling around last semester, and I wanted to give an example of Stoicism with the character Esmora and how she shows it, and how like Marcus Aurelius, please, I hope I'm saying that right, it's last semester, so. And I want to mention Esmora as an example of a Stoic. And so at first I came up with Mythos of the Haunted Hayride as originally a working title until I came up with a better title in the future, but then, you know, that title like sort of stick around with me, and so I'm just like, yeah, we'll call this Mythos for short. And when being compared to all of my other stories, and yes, this includes the current ones that were disqualified, such as Freeloader, Namjai, and She Came a Long Way, Mythos of the Haunted Hayride has more of a plot-driven story compared to the rest of them. Well, now that doesn't mean Mythos dives on the characters like the rest of the stories, since the rest of the stories are mostly just focused on the characters' interaction and doesn't really have that much of a plot, but with Mythos it has more of a plot, that's all I'm saying, and like it balances out both character and plot while the rest of them just focus more on the characters. But Mythos does too, but it has more of a plot compared to the rest of them. And so the story is just mostly centered around 3 childhood friends, 2 of their siblings, and 1 newcomer, journeying through the Haunted Hayride and trying to battle off monsters, and also has this mysterious coach woman, whatever you like to call her, like the director of the Haunted Hayride, like the person who drives it, the coach woman, that's what I like to call her, Mistress Silversii, and I already exposed her name, and she's like really mysterious. And I'm not gonna like say too much about what's going on, since like we're taking this place to Gravity Falls with the mysteries. Since this story is just filled with tons of mysteries that I've already written in my notes, and you're gonna see some of the non-spoiler notes of how, like, for example, their chemistry is, the group's chemistry is, like, trust me, it's the best. Since personally, I find all of the characters to be likable and complex characters. Like, even the monsters are likable and complex with their own backstories that they have. Since it's really gonna be hard for me to choose a favorite, but all I'm gonna say is that Mythos protagonist, which is Quillis, I renamed her for reasons. If you saw the video of me reacting to the old protagonist, you're gonna see is the second protagonist if you discount Freeloader, since once again, that's not part of the Mythos. So Quillis is the second protagonist of one of my stories that doesn't act anything like me. And I don't know if it mainly has to do with the fact that she is not autistic, unlike Empathy, or has some autistic coded traits like Tilapia. But if I have to choose a character from Mythos that I kind of relate with that somehow acts like me, then I would choose Malita, which is the new character that wasn't in any of the adaptations. Like, you're gonna see more new characters that wasn't in any of the adaptations that I added just for Mythos. The reasons why I chose Malita is like just to give a preview of her character. She is just like this kind of nurturing newcomer of the group who just wants to fit in with the rest, and it's kind of feels like an outcast with a group of 3 childhood friends and their siblings. Melita is also artsy, and if you could take away the fact that she is more girlier than I am, since I fall more to the tomboy sense, then I can kind of relate more with Melita, since like even as an adult, I still don't know my place in the world, and I still don't know how to belong in any group, so I kind of relate more with that than Quillis. But that doesn't mean that Malita is my favorite, since, like I said, there's like so many characters that I could choose as my favorite that it's so hard to choose which character that I like the most. So yes, Malita is one of my favorites, but I have tons of favorites. Like, I love all of these characters each individually, so it's hard for me to choose one. But with all of that out of the way, let's get into our leading lady, Quillis. I know this is some strange light in the couch since the yellow light is over here while the white light is over there, but hey, that's just me. So if you haven't seen how I reacted to the old counterpart of Quillis back when her name was Amari, well, let's just say I had a certain distaste for the type of protagonist who acts like a child, and yeah. And I kind of find it real that when we were watching the old audio story of The Devil's Heart to Hayride back on my old channel, the Amari voice I posed wasn't as high as I thought it was, even though I was 15 and can easily pose as a child. But even so, I can still do this like shrilled and high-pitched voice, just not for an hour. And so, long story short, the way that I directed Amari was so obnoxious, and her name, you could tell that I was searching through an A and Z website for how to name her characters, since it was pretty much obvious that her name came from an A and Z baby names website. And so to adopt the obnoxious character that, like, it literally says in the story that she is 16 years old, but she is 6 at heart, and she acts like a 6-year-old. She literally admits it. I decided to change our leading lady's name to Quillis, which is something more unique. Like, you never seen anyone's name Quillis before. And as I already mentioned in the preview with the ending where I typed it out since my voice was so tired from doing Amari for an hour, I mentioned that I was gonna lead for more of a tomboyish and adventurous vibe within her character, instead of just her acting like a child in a teenager's body. As Quillis, similar to her old counterpart, is still a Halloween enthusiast who has a very open and curious mind that she wishes that Halloween was much more scarier than she imagines. Like, when she grows up with the holidays, she just wishes that it would be more scarier. And in addition for her character, Quillis, along with her sister Esmera, are of indigenous descent, which means that it opens Quillis' mind even more to learn more about her ethnicity and her culture of indigenous people without following the negative stereotypes that lies within them. And to relate to Quillis with some of my non-Christian beliefs, I adopted Quillis' religion to be a Wicca, which is a modern-day belief of the nature and witchcraft religion that gets highly misunderstood as Satanism as I've looked it up, which I am not ever gonna mention that entity ever again since that is not part of my religion anymore, but I am still gonna be aware with how Wiccan is being misused and use it on Quillis. As nobody knows how she would usually sneak off to go celebrate the Wheel of the Year, the Wiccan holidays, but only like her two childhood friends knew about her shift in religion. Like her family doesn't know it, and it'll be really fun to use her practices in the Wiccan and witchcraft for her advantage when battling off monsters in the haunted Hayride or discovering mysteries as well. It'll be like super fun to like do some research on the religion and just to add more depth into my story. That would be so awesome. Oh, and one thing that I almost forgot to mention is that since I think I've already mentioned before that Amori's hair color used to be brown with blonde ombre, but since Quillis is like totally different, I sort of reversed it, so now her hair is blonde to brown ombre, which AI generated, like just defaulted into just making Quillis be a blondie, which still looks cool since I love the more diversity with tan skin and blonde hair, and yeah, it really suits Quillis well. And similar to most of my main protagonists, coincidentally, Quillis is also a storyteller and is fond of course, the legend of Highliffe Blake and the story in general of the legend of the person which you'll get to see soon. And the last thing that I want to mention about Quillis is that she's not going to be one of those main protagonists who will just automatically assign herself as the leader of the group. Like, she's not going to be that type. I mean, at times I pray for her to usually deliver some crazy speeches, but at the same time, like, everyone in the group deserves equal rights, and like, if it wasn't for each one of them, like, they all, like, every single one of them plays a part in their survival and how they survive. Like, if you take out one of the members of the group, then they probably would die at the end, since they all play an equal part in how they survived in the haunted Hayride. And even in the childhood flashbacks, which I'm gonna give you a preview before going into more depth once that comes around, Jared was more seen as the leader of the childhood trio, while Quillis was more like second in command, and Amel was just this goody two-shoes that gets dragged along with both of their chaos. And so with Quillis out of the way, I designed her costume as what I like to call a creepy scarecrow, to match her attraction and love for haunted Hayrides, especially when she was younger, like me. And so let's see what AI has done to my Go Quillis and... Okay, now that's more like it. While there are certain aspects that I love about this one and also the next one that I chose as the final one, of course I only have to choose one, but the unique features that I specifically love about this one is the eyeshadow shading on her right eye. It looks so awesome, and also the scars details. Like, there are more scars that are drew onto her face and body than there is in the final one. And I also love the color of the shirt more, as it looked more raggedy and dirty that way intentionally. But of course, this one came as a very close second, since this one looks so good that it could have been the final one if it wasn't for BAM! So the specific details that I like about this one is mostly the eye patch and how there's a cloth covering the eye patch, and it just looks so good with her costume. I can also appreciate how the hair looks more voluminous, like big and like free living, along with the tattered clothing where there was like holes all over, like even the shirt and the overalls, there was holes all over it, and tattered up spots like where her shoulders are supposed to be. And also this one has more personality, as I love that smile on her with the thing that she's doing with her hand. And so once again, while I do like the second one and this one, I'm gonna have to choose this one as my final favorite because of the eye patch alone and also the personality that she's giving off. But wait, it seems like something was missing from both of those photos, but what could it be? You know how much I used to adore my chubby cheeks. And so this one is... Well, at least the scars, if you could see them, are more detailed and realistic compared to the ones in the other photos. But outside of that, everything else looks much cheaper. And once again, chubby cheeks or no chubby cheeks, I'm still gonna pick this one as my official favorite. So, Asma, my former favorite character in The Devil's Hunter Hayride next to fictional Satan, which, thank goodness, he is no longer a part of this story anymore for obvious reasons. So, Asma, with the most subtle name change ever as it changed from Asma to Asmoa, is still mostly just the same stoic, sarcastic, and serious person that I think I've already slightly hinted at this before, but Asmoa is actually based off my own sister. Except, unlike in the predecessor, I changed the storyline to where Quillis and Asmoa were always distant and was never close at all, which caused Quillis to, as a young girl, just venture outside, and that's how she met Jared, and then Amel, and then, yes. And plus, it will also make the scenes where they actually started communicating during the Hunter Hayride more impactful than it would be if they've used to been close, and now they've never been close. And also, all I'm gonna say about her personality without spoiling too much, the last thing I want to mention is that she uses her Stoicism, which is the type of philosophy where you endure hardship with a straight face and with no emotions at all, and how her I'm perfectly making Asma be the philosophical one of the group, and how she uses her stoicism to protect the feelings of both herself and other people, without me giving any spoilers of how much depth she really has. Even though before she is my favorite, but now she has more depth into how she acts and how she acts serious, and due to my philosophy course, which extended her character more thoroughly into why she acts this way, and how later she becomes less cold and just have fun with the group while using her special techniques, which I am not gonna spoil, since they all have a special ability that they use in the Hunter Hayride to protect themselves, or to use against monsters, or to aid monsters at the same time. And finally, if you remember from The Devil's Hunter Hayride, Asma's original costume was of a hummingbird, in which I changed to an axolotl now. Which, a fun fact is that before I even started thinking of the predecessor, I was planning for Asma to dress in some serious Grim Reaper costume, but then I thought it would be more hilarious to contrast with her personality. I make her into a funny animal costume, as well as something just to mock my fear of fish. And so while the hummingbird thing came off as random, the axolotl thing actually was inspired by a true story. So back when me and my sister were playing Animal Crossing on the DS, my sister was wondering what kind of animal the comedian character, which is Dr. Shrunk, was, and so we were wondering that too. And so when she looked it up, she saw that Dr. Shrunk was an axolotl, and so I was pretty nervous, since we were both unsure what animal he's supposed to be, but when my sister looked it up, and so I was kind of timid at the time. So when I asked her, does it look like a fish, she was like, I mean, it does look like a fish, but it's not a fish, but it kind of looks like a fish. And she was so vague about it, and so I was just like, ooh, I want to see it, but then nope, I want to see it, and then nope. And so I was unsure if I wanted to see it or not. And so I remember my sister trying to almost chase me down and just to see what an axolotl looks like, and I was kind of nervous about what it looks like, since I have a fear of fish. And so later at that day, my sister then apologized for trying to scare me, even though I never knew what an axolotl looked like at the time. Until now, it's one of this little thing, which I can understand what my sister meant when she meant it kind of looks like a fish, but it's not really a fish, since it's literally called the Mexican walking fish, and so I understand. Also, the special features and axolotl they have with its external gills on the outside gives me more inspirational ideas for costume designing, unlike what AI done, which... If you discount this failed attempt of a fabulous costume that she needs to wear for the entire story, only the person is the best when it comes to Asma's looks and design if you discount the costume. Her hair looks gorgeous, and she has a mature face that you can tell she means serious business. But outside of her looking actually her age in this one, yeah. Well, at least the pre-sketch that I did for her before the AI challenge actually looks more accurate to what I imagined it to be if it wasn't for me fixing Esmeralda's costume with a more detailed sketch that I done recently. And by the way it turned out, I really have to ask myself this, but how have I never thought of becoming a fashion designer before in my entire life? So I know it's pretty hard to see if you look up close the eyeshadow detail of the gills that I designed for like both the edges of her dress, which is the reason why I made it more shorter than I imagined it to be, since originally, like, if you could tell by the lazy pre-sketch, her dress is mainly supposed to be longer than this, but I just thought I made it shorter just so you can see the details at the bottom of the web-like texture that is inspired by this entire design as a whole. But all I'm hoping for is that this sketch doesn't create like a furry trend except with amphibians, since like it looks so good, I'm not gonna lie. What would a furry version of an what would an amphibian version of a furry would be like? Would it be called like gillies or slimies? Like, what would a furry amphibian be called? I shouldn't really ask these type of questions, but I mean, like, moisties? Okay, no, forget I say anything. Or squishies. No, I'm done. So I have decided to do the Jared bit in my room, just assuming that no one is here. I probably need some more light though. So as some of you may or may not have noticed, Jared is the only character from The Devil's Heart to Hayride that didn't get a name change at all. Like his previous name was Jared and his name is still Jared, unless you count Asma, which like it's just a small name change from Asma to Asmora. Do I keep on saying Asma or Asmora at the same time? But like, yeah, Jared is the only character from The Devil's Heart to Hayride that didn't get a name change. Jared is still the lovable joke type of character that I have developed more in this story than the other one, which I mean, like, Jared is alright except for the unnecessary cursing that I used to do, I guess just to justify my PG-13 rating, other than the fact that I used to use Satan. But since I crossed those two out, like, I killed one bird with two birds with one stone, yep, that's what the saying is. Now it's family friendly, and so I don't need to add the cursing. And when you analyze the characters, specifically the trio, if you discount Amel, which we'll get to next, you will see that Jared usually likes to do mischievous things out of rebellion, while Quillis likes to do mischievous things out of fun, and which sparks their friendship as a whole as since they were kids. And speaking of Quillis and Jared, even though everyone in the group has amazing chemistry with each other, I love their childhood friendship so much. As I got rid of all of the ship teasing from the previous story and sort of made their connection have like a little bromance dynamic going on, except Quillis is not a guy, but she's a tomboy, so close enough. As in, they will usually give out friendly punches to one another or be over to taunt each other, like such as sucker, like they still use that term in their dictionary. And I'm probably gonna mention this more thoroughly when I talk about the entire group chemistry, but you can ship whoever you want in the group as long as they're not siblings and you don't include Joey in the ships, okay? You'll see why I say that sooner. And so ever since Jared was young, he claimed to not be afraid of anything except for his parents kissing, which is a little fun detail that I added. Which, as the story develops, Quillis and Amel sort of sees Jared's fear as something to joke about, especially when his parents are embarrassingly flirting in front of them. That I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have a really hard time making Jared's parents, like, the things they say to each other PG. Like, they're sort of similar to Zane's parents, except Jared's parents holds more of a significance to the story and part of Jared's development, while Zane's parents are just like a minor one-off joke of how careless both of their parents are. Due to his careless parents at times abandoning him for each other, Jared then ventures off to once again meet Quillis and then Amel, and then have all of these type of adventures where he becomes a fan of horrors and even aspires to become a film director, which I hope he carries around the camera all the time. As thanks to a little character from another story that you're gonna see later once I've explained her, since, like, once again, part of the Mythos and she holds an existence, which it'll be the next story where you'll meet who inspired Jared to create like a game that's sort of like 5 Nights at Freddy's. Like, you're gonna meet the animatronics that was at Jared's 5th birthday when I get to the Quinto Queso gang. So the last thing that I want to mention about Jared, other than the fact that he's like just a splash and can come off as insensitive at times, like once I said, the lovable joke type of character, that even though he acts like a joke, he's still like lovable, and I wouldn't be surprised by the way I develop him. He'll get some fan goals that was simple for him, especially without the spoilers. So the last thing that I want to mention is that like throughout the entire story, he always has a sweet soft spot for his little brother Joey. Even though I'll dive into more of their caring brotherhood later once I get to Joey, those two still share a tightly knit connection within the Haunted Hayride, both inside and out, as they will protect each other from time to time. And yeah, I'm gonna like get more into their dynamic once I get to Joey, but for now, that's all you're gonna hear from me. But for now, let's get into Jared's design, which is supposed to be a animatronic vampire coyote character named Vamodi. That's the first time I said that. I was like confused if I wanted to name the character. Like, he is one of the characters from the Quinto Queso show that was at Jared's 7th birthday, and is the only character that Jared respects and likes, apart from like the stereotypical characters of the fun-loving lead character, the only girl in the group, the token black character, and the offensive fat stereotype. I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna see those four later. I cut Vamodi out of that since that's the only character that Jared respects, which is why I tried to make him dress like that for Halloween. And even though at first AI sort of got confused by not really making Jared have a costume by having a figure that I'm supposing is supposed to represent Vamodi in some sort of way, getting ready to take a bite. But even if Jared were to wear that costume, his hair is like way too spiky and unrealistic. And I feel like I could do a much more better to both represent his costume and his entire appearance as a whole. Okay, now this one is much better in the costume department. So Jared looks alright in this, apart from the fur boa, which I tried to get rid of, as you're gonna see. And I honestly feel like the only reason why I didn't choose this as my favorite is because I sort of like the dream ones and how it represents more of Jared's character and personality, apart from this design looking too basic for Jared. And so that's probably why I didn't choose this as my favorite, but it was so close, you guys, it was so close. Okay, now this costume is more like it, since like I have conflicted feelings about this AI one, since while it is the best costume for Jared and also the best look for Vamodi, since I never drew him. I drew the rest of the Quinto Queso characters, but not him. And this mainly has to do with the absence of having his clothing be all like full of fur and more like a vampire. But at the same time, everything else looks so unrealistic. Like from the hair to just that smile and the teeth and like whatever marks are supposed to be on his face, like everything else looks like so unrealistic in this. But what's gonna be ironic is that the one that I chose as my favorite Jared design, unlike this one, has the best design but the worst costume, and here it is. So ignoring the random man in the back, the hair is what got me attached to this Jared. It's merely just his hair being the perfect type of messy that makes him still look attractive, while the hair is just like this perfect shade of brownish red that I gave to him. I honestly don't know what else to say, but if you get rid of the fur in his clothing, this Jared would have been perfect. So now let's move on to Baby Amel, which it should be no surprise that Amel is one of my favorite new characters. Like, Amel is, let's just start here. Amel is one of the new characters that I added that is exclusive to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, and like saying that he's one of my favorite new additions to the story is not really saying much, since like every new addition, like every new character and new addition to Mythos is of course going to be my favorite, since why have I added that if they're not? So Amel is just this sweet and charming little French boy that is really historic and is a huge bookworm, which is one of his defining traits that will be essential to the story. And Amel being a bookworm is one of the key factors to why Quillis and Amel sort of sees themselves as the power duo at times. since, like, just to get a recap, Quillis is the type of person who loves to create stories, while Amel is the type of person who likes to read stories, so it just makes sense. And when Jared and Quillis first met Amel as just the new French kid who moved to America, he is first seen as reading a book under a tree until like Quillis starts bothering him and stuff. And that's how the trio friendship was born. And Amel is actually one of the more interesting characters that I like to work with a lot, since I'm not gonna spoil too much of his backstory, but like once he moved to America with his aunt, he gets to live in like this huge mansion that he mostly spends time alone with, since his aunt has a really big job as a special education teacher, which means she's barely around anymore. And so like Quillis and Jill, like when Amel tours them around his huge mansion, then they just start, poking fun at the idea of how lucky he is to live in like a huge mansion where Jill and Quillis even pretend that this is like a haunted mansion to them, in which Amel like tries to warn them, like be like this scary teacher, like no, don't do that. And they're just the type of friends that like to mess with him, while Amel is just the voice of reason of the trio, who Jared even admits is smarter than him. And once again, it's mainly Amel's historical factor that makes him such an interesting character to work with, especially his love for engineering and how he can construct things such as an orchestra phone and also a mini haunted Hayride keychain that he gave as a gift to Quillis once after she bombed her Halloween performance as kids. And he even like constructed the things that he engineers to move and stuff, and like even the haunted Hayride keychain that was a gift for Quillis, it plays music and starts moving. So I guess all you can remember about Amel's character and how he is going to be useful during the haunted Hayride is his strong abilities of reading and his strong talents at engineering. Just remember those two things. And with his costume, since everyone's costume is going to contribute to what's going to happen in the story, like one way or another, like each of their costumes connect with either their characters or what's gonna happen. And so with Amel also having an admiration for French antiques, his costume is based on a cracked porcelain doll who is wearing a hat and like fancy and traditional French clothing, like even a bow tie, which it looks so cute on him. So with all of the non-spoiler details out of the way, let us take a look at Baby Amel, which I always forget to mention. Amel's and Quillis like cute nicknames to each other, which is Maman Quillis and Baby Amel, which in French, Maman means mother and Bebe means baby, which originally I was gonna for the term that means son, but I thought baby was more funnier, and plus I love Baby Amel the most. And here was the first AI image of Amel, which I'm gonna give you the first two AI images fast, since aside from the cracks looking more realistic than the perfect one that I've chosen here, it just looks alright to me. With both of the things he is holding is not resembling a Hayride of any sort. So with all of that said, let's just skip to the good looking charmer over here. No flaws. Just no flaws. So the thing that he is holding is actually resembling a Hayride of some sort, even with the addition of some creepy porcelain dolls attached to it. The cracks on his face, while not as perfect as the previous ones, are still there. And also his outfit is so smithy, or whatever the word is. Was I trying to say spiffy or something like that? And the hat just complemented all with the hair. Like similar to Jared's hair, it's just the hair for Amel is just my favorite part of it all. And he could totally rock that wavy hairstyle of his. And all in all, just the perfect look for Amel, as I can't wait to start using this design more, as you can imagine him in my story. And also, as tribute to the childhood trio, also known as the Quillowell trio of Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, I actually attempted to see what the childhood trio will look like in the childhood flashbacks. And I'm not gonna lie, there were multiple times where AI generated Amel as a girl, even though I specifically said that Amel is a boy. But this is one of the perfect ones that, I am surprised how accurate they got Jared and Amel's, both of their personalities and what I described their appearances to be like. Meanwhile, Quillis, I'm not gonna lie, she could use the most work out of all of them. But enough of the past friends, let's move on to a new friend that is a new character both inside and outside of the story. Let's get introduced to Malita. So, as I am currently feeling down about what happened, which is more personal, and it's not a death this time. It's like something more personal to my mental health and stuff. I just decided that this might be the perfect time to now discuss about Malita, which is one of my favorite characters. And I'm sorry that I'm shutting down right now. It's just like it's too personal with my mental health to say about this, but like what I'm feeling right now is kind of like both depressed and relieved about what happened, and I'm not gonna tell you what it is since I want to move on to Malita, since I didn't expect this to take like 3 months. Like since I remember recording this in March and now it's May. Wow. So it's probably no surprise to like already mention this, that along with Amel, Malita is also one of the new characters that is exclusive to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, and of course one of my favorite new additions, which every new addition is my favorite addition. Like it's so obvious based on how I literally add it. Like why would I add it if it's not my favorite? So I guess it's pretty odd for me to start with this by the ironic name choice that I gave her, which I purposely made it ironic. I mean, the last time I searched for what the meaning of the name Malita means, it was something positive, but now I don't want it to be like that, since the first time I searched up, like when I was deciding what to name this new character, then I just based her name off the Spanish word for bad, which is mal. And then that's just how I came up with the typical Hispanic name Malita, since the prefix means bad in Spanish, despite Malita, like the character herself, is the complete opposite of bad, and you'll get to see that she's actually the most sweetest character out of the group. Now, on the outside, given her Hispanic background, you may think that Malita will be one of those characters that will be like a token Hispanic character to mention Day of the Dead in a Halloween story. Well, if you look deeper than that, she is more than just that. So while I won't go and spoil too much of her backstory, all I'm gonna say is that she does develop a feel of, ironically, sorry about that, she does develop a feel of skulls, skeletons, and bones, or just anything related to that. So yes, her character, along with her story and backstory, is still affected with Dias de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, except I added a little twist to where she's ironically feels skulls and skeletons, which is basically the true icon of Day of the Dead, so yeah, just add that little twist there. And so, as I'm still developing more monsters to fit into this story, which you're gonna see later in some of the sketches I made, one of my favorite monsters that I recently just created, which is why I forgot what her name is, since I recently just created her, but her nickname is the Bone Witch. I know, kind of lazy, or the Witches of Bones. And so when the Haunted Hayride leads into this trail of bones and like this mystical witch-like figure that has like bones and skeletons all around her, in a spooky kind of way, but like Malita got like really spooked and even like huddle into Amel's soft chest and like be like, I'm scared, like can we turn around? And Amel is just gonna like the comforting, like soft and nice person, be like, don't worry, it's gonna be all right. And like Quills even turned to them and even asks Coach Roman to like turn around since Malita is getting scared. And yeah, it's like one of the examples of how good their chemistry is. And by that, I mean the whole group entirely, like each friendship, Amel and Malita's, like that's just one of their examples of how genuine, like each of their connections are gonna be. But enough about her fear of skulls, let's dive into more of Malita as a character and her personality. So I've already mentioned that Malita is a kind and nurturing person who is very expressive when it comes to her artistic abilities, such as how the childhood trio and their siblings first met Malita, which I'm playing for them to like first met her since she's just a newcomer. Like once they entered through the apple orchard, they met Malita when she's like in a Dia de los Muertos stands with all of her craft that she made that doesn't resemble a skull at all. It's like especially the marigold lay that is essential to a certain scene, which like it's hard to describe Malita's character without spoiling like certain aspects of both the mysteries and also the individual characters and their backgrounds that sort of leads up to the mysteries as well. Like so many mysteries that I do not want to spoil by just one simple detail of a character. So I guess the last brief thing that I want to mention about Melita without giving out any spoiler is that due to her kind and nurturing nature, her special gift doing like what makes her useful in the heart of Hayride is aiding scary creatures, which I've sort of like generated in the AI. Like you saw how I added it there, that she is very nurturing towards even the most scariest creatures. Unless they resemble a skull, then she's scared of them. But like her special gift is like she's very nurturing and she knows how to aid other scary creatures and to see what lies beneath them, and like especially this one creature, which I'm gonna show you a sneak peek once I get into that AI. And so let's jump straight into it. Since Melita doesn't really have a costume, since she's just like decorated as Katrina, the Day of the Dead symbol, except without a skull, and I tried my hardest to not give her a skull design, to not follow through that stereotype. Like I tried my hardest. Like I even tried to make it seem as if she wears no makeup except for red lipstick, like her signature red lipstick. Like that's all I tried to do, but no matter what, it always comes out as a skull or something that's resembling a skull, no matter what I do with this AI. So let's get into Melita. See what I mean when I say that it's hard for that AI conjure up something that doesn't resemble a skull on her face? I'm not gonna lie, if you take off the skull earrings on this one, it would almost have been my favorite out of them all. Until that I learned that unlike Quillis and Amel, it seems as if Melita's design can walk out better without a hat. So I honestly like this basic look for Melita, as it seems like all her skull makeup, I'm still keeping that take, has infused with this scary creature, which I've expected to be a siren head, in which I don't even know why they didn't even generate a real siren head. Like I even generated a siren head, which I'm not gonna show since I didn't take a picture of it, but it looks like an actual siren head and not what this thing is. And after the research that I found, well, I figured out that a siren head is not a public domain monster. Then I'm probably gonna like create Sirentino. Like I'm still gonna keep that name Sirentino as like a monster that is like still similar to a siren head, which means it's like really tall and lanky and has like, I don't know, like sort of like microphone eardrums. Like it will look similar to a siren head, except it's not really one, but it's different, just so, because I'm still unsure about the public domains. But yeah, here's a sneak peek just to give an idea how nurturing Melita's character is and how both the image itself fits with her nurturing aura. And so yeah, even though this is pretty basic, you know, it's just a simple and sweet type of character that it resembles Melita, both inner and outer. And so yeah, this Melita is my final choice for a character. And now we are on the last member of the group, but not the last character, since we still have to get through the Legend of Howlif Blake's characters, along with one little thing that I added. Oh, and Miss Vilsi, I all forgot about her. So yep, the last person in the main group, which is Joey. And in the original, like the Devil's Heart the Hayride, his name was Jacob, which I changed to Joey for like no reason at all. I guess when it comes to Quillis, you can make the excuse that I didn't like her old counterpart so much, so I just changed to Quillis. Esmora barely got a name change, and Jared didn't get his name changed at all. So yeah, there's like no reason why I changed his name to Joey now. So I guess for starters, if you could generate this AI, I sort of done the opposite of what I did with Caldwell. I aged him up from 4 to 5 from the previous time I mentioned Escape the Story of Lighthouse Village. Like I sort of done the opposite, where I aged Joey down from Jacob, since if you remember from the original, Jacob, it was mentioned that Jacob was 6 years old, which I actually aged him down, so now he's 4 years old. And the reason why I decided to age him down to 4 is like without giving any spoilers, I guess to try to like give out a stronger match, like when he's younger, like give out like, since it's really hard to explain this, but I'm gonna like I remember trying to like echo what I meant with my head, but no, let me start over. To make the message of how Joey is the type of character that is wise beyond his years, much stronger when he's younger and has less years to like sort of give out this sense of wisdom and moral compass. Since I sort of became self-aware on the fact that before in the Devil's Heart the Hayride, I made Jacob, Joey's old counterpart, into a Mary Sue. He used to be a Mary Sue, and he used to be like so perfect, and like back then when Jared would trick Jacob. When Jared would trick Jacob, the old counterpart, then he would just be like, "Oh, of course I was gonna get tricked on Halloween, but at the end of the day, there was always a treat." And so, with me being more self-aware of how I made the old Joey seem more like a Mary Sue, I sort of poked fun at the idea of how I still made him like this pure entity character that is mostly just fights beyond his ears and is the moral compass. I'm trying to think of the adjective for it. Like, he's like the moral compass of the group. And though I won't necessarily go as far as to say that he's one of the sweet characters, since that spot sort of already got taken by both Marlita and Amel, since I find out those top two are the most sweetest characters in the group. What I will say is that Joey will still be there, either protecting his big brother or giving out advice to anyone in the group, especially Asmora, since like compared to the old story where, you know, out of character joke of Asmora like thinking that, you know, like Jared has a brother. Like, I'm not gonna explain the whole joke since it's always starting to make me cringe already. But yeah, like compared to that, Asmora and Joey's like, I'm gonna give you a sneak peek. No, not a sneak peek. I'm just gonna tell you a hint that their bond is like way more closer in Mythos than it ever was in the previous one, and so that'll be interesting. And while with that, I even added a little cute new detail to Joey's character where he speaks in a speech impediment called a stutter block, which is when he at times phrases his words like this. Like, especially like it gets stronger when he gets like super excited where he could be like, "Hi, you guys." Am I doing it right? I'm trying to remember. And so, as I promised, this is where we're gonna be diving into more of Jared's and Joey's brotherhood. And so, unlike in the old story where Jared will literally curse in front of Jacob, like, I got rid of all the cursing since I want to make this PG instead of the old version. Jared and Joey now shows more of a deep and sweet brotherly bond. And once again, Joey is Jared's sweet spot where he acts the most protective, and like whenever, like even when Joey is about to save his life, he's like, Jared is still like, "Okay, you got upon me, you don't do that again, you can almost get killed." And it's like some of the more cutest scenes with Jared and Joey is when they will refer to themselves as big brother and little brother. Like whenever Jared's like, "Promise big brother Jared this, you don't try to attempt to do that stunt again, since it can almost like you can almost get killed when doing that, you could get in danger. Promise big brother Joey that, big brother Jared that." And like even like some of the most sweetest lines when Joey says, "I love you, big brother." I'm not gonna spoil where that line comes from, since I don't want to spoil some of the more emotional moments between those two, but yeah, just be prepared for some sweetness when it comes to their brotherly bond. And so with all of that said, it should be obvious that Joey's special gift on the Heart to Hayride is mainly just being a very observant person who gives out advice to each and every one of the people in the group, with his adorable little stutter block to tie it all together when I feel he's like giving out great advice to anyone in the group that is very useful to either their development or just how to protect themselves against these monsters that are not actually actors. As for why I decided to make Joey's costume be an enchanted ghost, I thought it would symbolize his airy and innocence, like, you know how ghosts are airy and like portray like invisible of such, and like you can't really see them, but like on the inside they have a much deeper premise within them, and so that just represents Joey, since like on the outside he may seem like this innocent little kid, but on the inside he's like this wise soul who likes to give out great advice to others and is wiser than he thinks. Like even Joey is even smarter than his older brother Jared. I'm not sure if it will be matching inside the story like it was for Amel, but like just so you get this clear, Joey is actually more smart than Jared. So with all of that out of the way, here's the last character of the group, Joey. Okay, so with Joey, I kind of done the opposite with Jared and chose the best costume as my favorite overall design. Because if this was for best designs, I would obviously choose this Joey as it will look more similar to Jared, how Jared looks, which means it will be obvious that they're related. Especially when it comes to that little hair swoop thing that he has. I love that the most, and I love his hairstyle the most and his overall design, but the costume is a bit meh for me, or not as good as the one that I chose as my final design. So let's get on to that right away, since there's nothing much that I can say about Joey other than he just looks like a typical white kid. So on the flip side, this Joey has a not so great looking person design compared to the previous one, but the best costume overall if you take off those overall straps. Now, once again, even though this isn't perfect, the main qualities that I want to give when I say that Joey's costume is an enchanted ghost design is meaning that he has like all these like light purple and white fabrics hanging down from his costume. In a similar way that his sleeves are hanging from here, except like it's his entire body, sort of like Moo of sort. Yes, he can still walk the hood though. And similar to what I've done with my original design of Esmeralda's costume, I feel like I could get a ton of inspiration for what I expect Joey's original costume to be like, but since this one didn't butcher it as hard as Esmeralda, I didn't do what I imagined it to be, since like this is already looking good, like perfect, not really as perfect as my version tends to be, but yeah, I'm still keeping this Joey's costume just for a little tweaks there, here and there, but yeah, this is the best Joey overall based on the costume. And since we are closing the group over here, I just want to mention that you can like read out these non-spoiler examples of how great this group's chemistry is, which is no surprise given that they are 3 childhood friends, 2 of their siblings, and 1 newcomer who is like absolutely a sweetheart. To the point where I previously said this before, that throughout both of each of their comedic and heartwarming moments, you can ship anyone you want in this group as long as they're not siblings and you don't include Joey in the ships. Even though, without giving out any spoilers, I don't think that any romance will be in these characters' mind as trying to fend for your own life and try to like fight or aid for your own life on this dangerous haunted hayride with real life monsters. Which means if I'm gonna have Mythos of the Haunted Hayride be like, I don't know, like a sort of like either be animation, live action, or stop motion movie, like the group needs to have, the entire cast needs to have great chemistry in the group like they do in the story, since I can fully confirm that out of all of my current stories, Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, that cast has the best chemistry out of them all. As for which one of my current stories has the worst group chemistry, I am gonna cheat on this one, even though I said this many times that it's not part of the Britiverse, but I'm gonna say it anyways. It's Freeloader has the worst group chemistry. Since I done it on purpose as a satire to both the Chipmunks and the Chipettes, along with like mainly just child sauce, and how on set, like when the main cast of Freeloader are performing, especially towards children, they act all friendly and they act like they're in love on some moments, but like offset behind the scenes, like in one point, like either in one point or multiple points in this story, they full on hate each other. If there's even being like a joke where after their first performance was over and when yelled out was like, and cut, the boys and girls then started arguing after the camera shut off. With the only exceptional bond out of the Freeloader group that doesn't like at one point in the story hate each other is Tommy and Clarice, and you can probably guess what their chipmunk counterparts are. Can you guess? I'm not gonna tell you, but just guess. I apologize for me going off topic there. Just to put it short, Mythos of the Haunted Hayride has the best group chemistry, while Freeloader has the worst group chemistry. And so now, enough with the chemistry talk. Let's get on with our legendary and mystical, and let's not forget mysterious coach woman, Mistress Silverside. The mysterious coach woman herself, Mistress Silverside, which is gonna be a really hard character to describe without giving out spoilers of some of the mysteries, since her whole entire character is a mystery that it's so hard for me to describe her character without giving anything away. So I'm not gonna be surprised if this will turn out to be the shortest character description, but Mistress Silverside is in control of the haunted Hayride. Like, that's pretty much all I'm gonna say. And also, if you didn't notice, she is of Central Asian descent, which means she is native to the backstory of the haunted Hayride. And probably the only stable thing that I can mention about her character is her mystical appearance, because outside of that, her mood is so unstable. Like, at times she can appear as warm and apathetic in her own, like, mysterious or no, mystique way. Mystique is one of my favorite words of all time, fun fact. But also at times she can come off as distant and not very warm as she was, like, 2 seconds ago. And so, by the way, her mixed and unpredictable approach comes when viewing the guests who will want to venture inside the haunted Hayride or not. It will make sense why there was only 6 people who actually is willing to join the haunted Hayride with this woman. Like, it will make sense due to her unpredictable nature that, like, that fix that plot hole of why only 6 people are in the haunted Hayride. And the rest about Mr. Silversii, I am gonna leave as a mystery, except for a funny joke that I want to mention, which I did not want to describe the context of the joke, since once again, like, most of the things about Mr. Silversii is so mysterious that I don't want to give anything away. But a joke that I really want to mention is when Jared mentions that when Jared asks if Mr. Silversii possibly has a fake ID, all Mr. Silversii could respond with is, "Be quiet, Jared," or "Shut up, Jared," or "Not now, Jared," which she didn't really answer the question, so yeah, it just leaves that much of a mystery. Now, while I do prefer the honey brown eyes for Miss Swiss Silversii's design, I will say this is one of my favorite in both the costume and the background itself. It looks so cool. And also, I wouldn't forget about the makeup too. It looks so awesome. Oh my god, the enchantress sleeves and the dress is everything on this Mr. Silversii, and the honeybell eyes are like so perfect. And I also love how she's stabbing her fingers as if, yes, she is controlling that haunted Hayride on the back, except she's actually like riding it with 2 horses. But other than that, it looks so cool. And not just only her expression, but the background itself of all the bats just give you this sense of wonder that you just don't know what she's gonna do, but like, it just gives off like this mysterious vibe, which I'm all in for her, since once again, why her description is so short is because she's just full of tons of mysteries. So this is one of the bat designs that fits her entire character. Like, look at the cloudy skies just so well, with like, you can like feel the mystery inside of you as you wait for what she's about to do next. This one, I don't really have that much to say that I haven't said about the rest of them, but the jewelry like across her body looks amazing, and yeah, the makeup is still on point, and just everything else, like the backgrounds, like just the same thing as everything else, except they're all like uniquely beautiful in a certain type of way when it comes to Mr. Silversii's designs. But the last thing that I want to mention that sort of differentiates them from the rest is the background being like both warm colors on the other side and cool colors on the other side, which can represent Mistress Silversii's polar, like, what's it called, mood swings during the trip, that she can switch up anytime unpredictably, which AI unintentionally described those mood swings with due to background. But we need more image that describes more of her, mysterious personality, mysterious and mystique personality, something like this one over here. So first off, I am adoring those sharp nails and the glossy lips. Like, everything about her makeup is so shiny and like amazing. All of her outfits in these AI designs, like, no complaints, they all look great. That is so hard for me to choose which one I want to base the original design of. The background, as always, is so perfect, and I love the candle designs as well. The candles in the background, I'm not gonna dive way too deep, but candles are an essential in Mythos of the haunted Hayride and symbolizes so much throughout the story. And once again, this one I chose especially mostly because the way she's like pressing her hand on her chin as if like this alluring and mysterious pose that you don't know what she's thinking of, but you're in for a hayride, a haunted hayride. Yes, I'm sorry, I just said that randomly without knowing what it's gonna do, but I just caught that on camera. So yes, we are on to the former protagonist of The Legend of Hayride Blake herself, which isn't really saying much since it was a pretty short-lived story that I only came up with 3 characters that appear here. Yeah, so now we're on to the Legend of Hayride Blake in the reboot. So let's just start with Hayride Blake. So the only thing that I felt like really changed about Hayride is that she is no longer a demon anymore, which originally she was gonna be a hellspawn that was sent down to Earth to escape from her like strict dad who I'm gonna mention the Hayride ex-boyfriend later since he appears here and who wants to like go down to Earth, and so she disguises herself as a human, yada yada, and meets Apple Blossom. And yeah, originally that was gonna be the point, but then I swap it up, so she's no longer a demon. She is just a normal person that, once again, like, she still wants to get away from her strict dad, who seems like super like stoically evil and stuff, like he has no soul at all. And so she still spent most of her life with Apple Blossom's family and getting to know who Apple Blossom is, and they later develop a close bond with each other. And I inserted the Legend of Hayride Blake as a backstory to the actual haunted Hayride. So like that's how it is in this universe. And so together, I'm still playing for how they created the haunted Hayride more thoroughly, like sort of like with Apple Blossom's rural background and Hayride's love for horrors. They sort of like think of creating a haunted Hayride for both. Before it was themselves, and then they just created like the haunted Hayride, and even the area is called Halmagulilith Apple Orchard. They even renamed the place, which I'm gonna bring in more here that Apple Blossom's real name is Almaguli, and I am gonna like get more thoroughly once I get to Apple Blossom, since like even I mostly like to call her Apple Blossom instead of Almaguli, but we'll get more to her when we get to her. And I almost forgot to describe Hayride's personality, both inside the life and also the afterlife, which you're gonna see soon. But like Hayride's personality is basically just this eccentric, like she's pretty much bouncy, and yeah, she sort of resembles what Amari would be, but less annoying and more grounded. Like she's just like a free-willing spirit, both literally and figuratively, as you're gonna see. So one detail that I kept, which I hopefully gonna keep this PG, since I got rid of the whole demon things in both stories. Like both stories were originally gonna be rated PG-13 until I lowered the rating to PG, but I still added this trait of Hayride's addiction to blood, which hopefully gets that rating of PG still. And how, long story short, she ended up stabbing herself, which got her sent into the afterlife, which originally it was sent her back to the HE double hockey stick, but since I've reworked the story to now she's just an ordinary human with an addiction of blood that she gained accidentally when Apple Blossom fell from a tree. Now she just got sent to the afterlife after stabbing herself for her own addiction. And ever since then there was legends that spawned around her, especially around the haunted Hayride of the Halmagulilith cider mill / apple orchard. I almost said Apple Blossom, Apple Orchard. And one more thing that I almost forgot to add is her last name, Blake. Like Hayride, I just thought of the Ram, but Blake is actually inspired by the cider mill / apple orchard that my family used to go to, called Blake's Cider Mill or Blake Apple Orchard, and so she is named after my childhood apple orchard that I used to like go on haunted Hayrides with, and how I developed a love for haunted Hayrides and what inspired me to create this Halloween story is all due to Blake's Apple Orchard, or Blake's Farm is what the website is called. So yeah, thanks you Blakes, like shout out to Blakes. As in both the AI designs, the designs that I designed 2 years ago, and also the new design that I created just so she doesn't resemble a demon anymore. In all of these designs, I expected her to like give the impression that she's gonna be the big boss out of all of these monsters. Like she represents the spectral guardian of the haunted Hayride itself, so like she needs to look as if she gives the big boss impression. Like she's gonna be the big, like, I'm not gonna say she's a villain, but she's just gonna be this entire big boss energy when it comes to the haunted Hayride and all the monsters the group fought. She's gonna be like the final boss energy. So let's see if she delivers that entirely in these AI designs. And for this one, I'm just like, Yeah, she kind of has Cruella de Vil hair, and I almost forgot to mention her love for chainsaws, especially since the iconic chainsaw moment that I can never forget on the actual Haunted Hair. Why she has like an accessory, but not really like that. I said a mini chainsaw for like a belt, but not really one she holds. And I'm not sure that this is just me being too picky, seeing that I've already thought of an original design for Hayride 2 years ago that looks nothing like this, since there are way too many details that I can't all type it out on AI. But yeah, while her AI self doesn't look bad, I'm still gonna stick with my original designs for both 2 years ago and the one that you are gonna see soon. But outside of that, I remember scaling the quad out of my public speaking class when they saw me post this image of how to lift Blake. And how not PG-13, just all weighted the entire design is, and how there's like blood coming like from her cheek, from her left breast, and from her claws. Even though I kind of appreciate the fuller body picture more due to how wackety it looks, especially with the haze skirt, along with the glowing orange accents, that it will look cooler without those devil horns, which is why I sort of got rid of them in the new sketch. With the last thing that I want to mention, since I don't want to go on explaining all of these unique details about how I lift designs in both the old sketches and the new sketch, the reason why I decided to give a choice to make How I Live have a plus size body is to mainly, as a designer, give out free room to add all these designs and just enough room for me to process all of these details that I can never add, like to give out more room to add detail without worrying if the body extension is too tiny or not, and also it will provide body positivity at the same time, which I personally feel like is most needed in Mythos, since so far the other character that has a plus size body type is a fictional character in this universe who is purposely made to be a fat stereotype in a children's show that Jared doesn't like. And so, as in Hayride new sketch design, which I didn't finish and won't be the only time where I didn't finish the sketches right here. So I feel like the only major change apart from the the horns is like the hat is now shaped as a triangle with a dawn on top, of course. And yeah, I also sort of changed her boots into like sort of like these moonstone skulls, or whatever you like to call them. And yeah, outside of that, like I tried to replicate everything the best I could, even though like it's pretty messy if you look at it as like some sort. I mean, like this like new sketch paper out of that, or maybe just color pencils that I used, or I guess maybe just the overalls being too clean, or just everything not really looking as bloody and messy as it was before, as I sort of like developed her design with more of like these vines, like you can see from both her belt and from her hat. She has like these vines, and also I kept the thorns and the little ghost symbol, and I sort of changed her eyes, so like now it's like she still has green eyes to stand out from the rest of her outfit, but also an orange, whatever you like to call this white thing, just to symbolize that she's the undead. So I won't be surprised if I need to resketch this once again, even though it wasn't even finished to begin with. But let's jump into the next character of the Mythos of the Haunted Hayride and the backstory, Apple Blossom / Armaguli. Apple Blossom, one of the original main characters from The Legend of How I Live Blake that got transferred to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, which before, when I was still working with The Legend of How I Live Blake, her name wasn't actually Apple Blossom, it was actually Carmine, as I remember it when I was trying to think of names that were laid with apples or just the color red. But then, as I was working with this reboot crossover, I thought of giving her an actual new name that relates more with the term Apple Blossom, or just the flower, the blossom itself. And so before, I couldn't really think of anything, like I even said of any names that relate with Apple Blossom, but I couldn't find any, so I just named her Apple Blossom, like simple as that, until I sort of like, what's it called, waist swaps? They technically waist swap Quillis and Esmeralda in the original story, so yeah, I waist swap Apple Blossom. Oh yeah, and Halif too, but yeah, she was, I mean, like, does being a demon count? Not. So yes, I waist swap Apple Blossom into Central Asian Kazakhstan. I need to remember how to pronounce that again. Kazakhstan. Based on my research of how that's how apples all originated, I waist swap her into being Kazakh, or what's the race called, Kazakhstan, or just Central Asian to be more specific. even though in all her AI she looks white. And did that waist swap, that's how I gave Apple Blossom a real name, which is Almaguli, which is simply translate in Kazakh, please don't mind saying that way, to apple flower or apple blossom, until I decided that I sort of stuck with the name Apple Blossom so much and I like that name better. So in universe, Apple Blossom is a fun little nickname that Hayride gave to her, while like most of her friends and family just still calls her Almaguli, which like even me personally, I like the name Apple Blossom better. So yeah, call her whatever you wish. So Apple Blossom is just portrayed as this traditional country girl who has a very noble, kind and understanding personality. And most of her understanding personality highlights came from when she first befriends Hayride, despite her like looking like the odd one out of here, despite Hayride like sort of at the same time. Like for example, let's say let me give you like a sneak peek that, for example, a group of girls who like it's kind of based on a real life situation where like her parents want Apple Blossom to be friends with these girls instead of Hayride. I mean, like since they'll like act more sociable, but Apple Blossom don't really like how those girls act in some sort of way. I don't want to give too much away. And like the leader of that clique is named Rainulia. I'm trying to remember, it was a long time, but like it's foreshadowing something in the Heart of Hayride. And so like this is where Hayride asks if anyone in her apple orchard or the village is named Bob or something. It says Amaguli and Rainulia. Like even Hayride asks if anyone has normal names in this universe. Rainulia, I think I remember what her name is. And also when she has an interest in befriending wild horses, with her first one before she met Hayride is being Apricot, which she even describes as her first friend. And a new wild horse that she adopted with Hayride is named Zooey. And so even though Apple Blossom always have this deep and understanding personality, it was Hayride that got her to like look at some of the horrors and some of the mature and scary things as like deep and mature, and like what do I like to call it? Like see what might be scary as something that may not be scary when you take a deeper look at it and get to understanding what may have been scary. It turns out to be more deeper than what it may seem. Okay, so the reason why, unlike Hayride, I am showing the concept of Apple Blossom from 2 years ago when I sketched this. First, before I show the AI designs, is that even though like especially her face looks so cute, and also her hair, like I especially love the bangs that I gave her, and also the heading and even the necklace itself. But similar to the Wesley outfit, those kind of details kind of looks too basic and simple, like just a plain t-shirt and just plain jeans. And so trust me when I say that even though I want to keep the original skin complexion along with the face and just the hair, like everything else looks cute, the outfits, I feel like AI done great with these designs due to the outfits, not just the face. Once again, AI kind of has a whitewashing problem, but outside of that, let's look at the AI over here. Okay, so I'm probably gonna go through each one of these images the fastest, since most of them are just like simplified versions of the previous drawing, except much lighter in the skin tone, and this one is the most basic aside from the apple basket, which is the only reason why I put this out the honorable mention. As for most of these images, which are just button down shirts from the previous white t-shirt, it looks good with the many details it added. Despite getting the wrong idea by what I meant by apple blossom headpiece, I meant the actual flower, not just a bunch of apples and fruits on her head. I love the striking pose she has along with the horses in the background, or just the background as a whole, and yeah, it's one of the good ones, but not really the best ones I described with all of these images. While this one brought back the no button shirt with an excellent belt buckle and also the necklace, like even though it's just like a bunch of fruits instead of an actual apple blossom flower, it still looks cool. While this, as the background looks absolutely beautiful, and it really like helps her face shines even more here. While this one I also like too, since the face looks more simplified and cute, similar to what I drew her out to be, or what I imagine Apple Blossom's look is, and also the unbuttoned shirt with the necklace, it still looks awesome. It still looks cute, with the kind of cute appeal that fits her character the best. And I even tried to design Apple Blossom as more of a historically accurate Kazakhstan woman. Kazakhstan, I'm at Kazakhstan, and they actually got the apple blossom flowers on her head correct instead of fruits. And while I do want to tweak my original apple blossom design to fit more into the Kazakhstan traditional outfits, as opposed to just jeans, belt buckles, and a plain shirt. But for now, since there's not really that much of a full body going on in this design, I had to choose this one as my favorite overall. Which mainly has to do with the excellent nice shirt details and also the beautiful necklace and the earrings fit too. And also I love the noticeable rope that ties out her braids to the loose ends, if you can see there more specifically, since I love the rope that goes through her hair even though it wasn't my original design. I love that added thing that went into her design. Even though, to be completely honest with myself, most of these all look similar to each other, so that's not really saying much. So, if you could basically tell how I didn't write anything for this character, you can probably guess that I didn't really plan for him to be included in the main cast, but since his AI art looks so cool, then I decided to add him to the main cast anyways, even though he didn't really do that much of anything, except be like more of a comic relief, sort of, and like Hayride sidekick basically when the group got haunted. So similar to Hayride, I had to change out Mitten's backstory too, even though he doesn't really have that much. So I had to change it from a demon just without the horns, and just like a normal human that is non-verbal and just like has like a mask or something, like you can't really see his face. And so long story short, originally Hayride's stoically evil father, that's what I like to call him, like even after I changed out the whole demon thing, like when I turned them just as humans, like Hayride's dad is still like stoically evil at times. He arranged this guy named Mittens, yes I know, to be her boyfriend, in which like even after they broke up their arrangement, they still act as like, what's the term, amicable exes, and just act as each other's besties when they're not being fragile in an arrangement. And though Mittens, ironically, like Mittens just seemed like a cat name, to be honest, seemed as if this scary, like bulky, like strong dude that is built like a brick and is supposed to like be based on the sort of like chainsaw killers that would jump on the Hayride, like he's based on those type of creatures. Did I say creatures? I mean, these are actual people, but yeah. He can at times come off as really soft and timid, especially when it comes to what I like to call his bestie, Hayride, who is actually one of, if not the only people that can still understand him, which caused many humor when, for example, the group don't even know what he's saying, since he always speaks in like grumbles and like due to his mask, he always speaks like but at times those grumbles can turn into a threatening. And this is one of my favorite non-spoiler moments where it shows how fun it is to write Mitten's characters at times. So with that, we did an awesome, cool, and tough design, but also pleasant on the eyes to complement with Mitten's whole character, which get us introduced to this killer Mittens! So even though I expected his body to resemble more of a brick, like a rectangular sized body, as opposed to just him being all muscular and veiny, I gotta say, this still looks pretty awesome, and the mask is one of my favorite moments. It's like, it looks as if his entire face is just a black void. Like, he has no face at all. It's all covered by that mask and just the blackness in his holes. So, you may think that this might be the end of me talking about Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, which you couldn't be more wrong, since even though that Mittens was the last of the AI designs, I've actually come up with some of my own original sketches that I didn't do in AI, since I felt like that would be more cringeworthy. Like, trust me, I even tried to do some of the Crystal Queso designs, the character designs in AI, which it didn't really turn out well, so I just do some of the designs myself, as well as one of the other creatures that I would like to mention that I also do so far. And there are other creatures too, but I'm not gonna waste all my time with that, since I already have 2 more stories to go through, and I'll probably do that in a separate video since this is only 3 hours. So to start us off is the Chuck E. Cheese ripoff, Quinto Queso, which I like to call the Quinto Queso game, minus Famodi, the vampire coyote. Like, I cut that character out of the sketch since he's the only character that Jared likes, and the only character that isn't a shallow stereotype. Like, Famodi actually has more depth and personality into the Quinto Queso lore, which I'm not gonna spoil since I get such an interesting take on the character, but the other four have shallow personalities. Like, Quinto Queso himself is just a fun-loving, typical lead character. I'm the only girl, as her name goes, is the only girl in the group, and her only personality is girl. Yeah, she's one of those characters. And then there's Chimpa, which is just a token black stereotype, and like, yes, I can say some of the names that I was originally thinking of, like Shiga or Nick Pansy, which I can say because I'm black, but yeah, I thought it would be too much of a stretch to the stereotype, so I'm just went with Chimpa. And then Piggly Thing, which, as you might know, is the offensive fat stereotype, which only personality is eating and just being big. So some of the characters, which you already know what type of animals they are. Chimpa is obviously a chimpanzee, and Piggly Thing is actually a cross between a pig and a ding. That's why his name is Piggly Ding. I still don't know what that thing is, and nobody knows, but he's both a pig and a ding. And Vamodi, of course, is a vampire coyote, while Quinto Queso is a coca, which is like one of those smiley marsupial creatures. Like, you're gonna see this. I don't know, I thought it looked cute, so I made him into an animatronic. I made that animal to an animatronic and just go with Quinto Queso, and it's the leader of the gang, while I'm the only girl is a red panda because, I don't know, I was thinking of turning red, and I can't really think of any other stereotypical girl animals, so I just went with a red panda for I'm the... And I don't know if you can tell by some of the notes that writing for the Quinto Queso scenes, like even before and after they turned evil, is one of the most funnest things that I ever written when it comes to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. I know it'd be way back when Mel and Krillis made this childhood bet of if Quinto Queso and I'm the only girl are gonna get together, because of course the lead character was the only girl in the group. Or when each of the animatronics, including Vamodi, spoiler, but I already added my notes anyways, all turned evil in the Haunted Hayride and tried to fight the main group and get revenge mainly on Jared for making fun of them all those years by using their stereotypical attributes that you can see here. And so, with what I've done with the unfinished and uncolored sketch of the Quinto Queso gang minus Vamodi, which I think is because I was, like, at the time I was working really hard to try to unbutcher Esmeralda's design that I didn't get to finish this one, but bam! This is how it will look like, all four of them minus Vamodi, since that's the only character that Jared approves of. And I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I made Piggly Thing I intentional or not, Piggly Thing couldn't really fit inside the board, just to extend his stereotype even more, that he couldn't really fit in the full picture with the group, which, like, probably why I couldn't add that more, because Piggly Thing will just fully take up the entire page. So to analyze each one of the choices with the character designs, Quinto Queso is obviously having some tacky 2000s outfit with the hat and the long sleeve with the shorts. Yeah, it looks pretty tacky, but it was intended that way. And what is that collar? Like, even I'm confused with my own fashion sense, even though I done it on purpose just to, like, sort of like mimic the tacky 2000s fashion with Quinto Queso. Like, what even gold? This is... I don't even know when I do this. And with I'm the only girl, I gave her like this impossible hourglass figure that you see in many cartoons, but I exaggerated it more, where like she doesn't even have a stomach at all. I exaggerated the hourglass figure where she doesn't have a stomach at all. She just has a chest and a hip. That's all she has within her body. Like, how does she eat? And if you look closer to her hairstyle, if you look past the ears, you can tell that I sort of went with the Sailor Moon hairstyle with the two buns and the pigtails, or as Jared likes to call it, which is one of my favorite Jared roasts, when the producers literally stapled this raggedy weave onto Amda's head, and it doesn't even match her actual fur tone, since she's supposed to be a red panda, but they gave her this white wig that the producers just stapled on her head, like slam it there, even though it doesn't match at all. And he even yelled at the stage that she's supposed to be a wet hat and not an albino chick, which Quillis and Amel accidentally giggled after. Like, by the way, Jared delivered it. It was just Jared's delivery and not actually what he said, which sort of, like, they're playing for their revenge. When it comes to Champa, I feel like I'm gonna use more stereotypical, like, black ghetto features overall once I add more things, or once I actually finish this. But like his teeth, I think I add a little bit of color. I suppose like gold glow, and also like look at this gold chain he has. Like he's supposed to be the black stereotype, and I don't know if it'll get too offensive that I made him a monkey, but I'm a black rider, so I can do that on purpose. And also a hair pick comb, which even though I didn't add this in the note, I plan for him to like pick up his hair comb and draw it in an attempt to stab one of the people in the group. And also to add to more of the black stereotype, he can also jump very high, as I can imagine a scene where he's like crossing across like trees of the haunted orchard. Like I can imagine like and shooting his gun afterwards, like he can jump very high and just start shooting. I imagine that scene will look really cool in live action or whatever form it is if it turns to a movie, as he's jumping and swinging across trees from tree with his gangster goals and stuff with his hair pick. And yep, just as a stereotype. And of course, Piggly Ding. Guess what his instrument is? His tummy. While Quinto Queso plays the guitar, I'm the only girl can sing, and Chimpa has an African drum. I specifically said African. Piggly Ding, he only has his tummy. That's all he needs. So if you guys are already familiar with the typical type of fat stereotype, you know, the type that is lazy and eats a lot. Another creepy thing that I added about Piggly Ding, like even before the animatronics turned evil, this is really creepy, is that Piggly Ding is actually a cannibal. Yes, I added that trait up since the thing that on his shirt that, you know, you can tell it can't fit is supposed to be a hot dog. And he even admits to the children that his favorite kind of pizza is meat lovers with extra sausage, bacon, and pepperoni, and salami, and anything that has pork in it. Yes, I turned him into a cannibal. I mean, not really turned, just he was always a cannibal, even before they turned evil. Or maybe I should have just said part cannibal, since you gotta remember he's a mixture between a pig and a ding, even though based on this drawing I can't really see the ding, but again, this is just an early sketch, as I should call it. And a funny joke that I added when attributed to Piggly Ding is that when the entire group, like once the animatronics turned evil, like this is present in the haunted Hayride, Quillis was like, wait, Piggly Ding is supposed to be fat? And Jared just turned, the whole group turned around, but Jared was mostly like, of course Piggly Ding is supposed to be fat. That's his only character trait. Which Quillis' reaction of how Piggly Ding is supposed to be fat is sort of like a reference to how, especially when I was younger, I wouldn't really know if a cartoon character is supposed to be fat or not. Or just outside of that, either live action or just people in general, I wouldn't really depict body types like that. Especially since I was proud of my chubby cheeks myself, so I wouldn't really be picky, or like even if I do notice, I still wouldn't judge the character for it. I still like the character the way it is. And ironically, I still have those kinds of moments, like for example, when I was between 14 and 15, well, I'm not gonna say who the character is, like you just have to guess. I didn't know that this character was supposed to be fat until he started showing the traits for me to notice that yes, he's supposed to be the fat one when he started eating a lot, or let's say releasing the gas, that I was like, oh man, this character is really fat, and I didn't notice from the start. And so that little joke of Quillis not noticing that Piggly Ding was supposed to be fat when she was younger is sort of a reference to me. And yep, this is our Quinto Queso game without Remedy, which once again, I did not want to spoil the Quinto Queso lore, so that will just be left off as a mystery. And speaking of a mystery, like the last thing that I want to show you before I end off Mythos of the Haunted Hayride is another unfinished sketch of a creature, which is what I like to call the granddaughter of the Spider Woman from its Native American mythology, Oniza. I can't believe I still remember her name. And so Oniza is just this silent, like little ghost/spider humanoid creature. that is really good at, you know, the traditional spiders, like the traditional spider humanoid stuff, like sewing, and also, like, you can see, like, this is also like a necklace, or like on her chest she has like both webs and also a dream catcher based on the Native American legend, which the group gets to visit. So aside from just this like unique little creature with webs all over the place, like similar to what I've done with Esmeralda's design, where I extended the axolotl features into her costume, like from the web feet, and except Oniza is an actual creature, an actual spider humanoid creature. So she has 4 legs and 4 arms, and let's not forget the multiple eyes and whatever that is behind her. Even I don't know, but hey, it's a cool feature to add. And she's near Joey's age, so surprise, surprise. She's actually, and please don't ask why, since you're gonna see soon, like, Oniza actually becomes Joey's love interest. Yes, you're gonna ask why I'm giving a 4-year-old a love interest, and not just any love interest, monster love interest that is a spider humanoid creature. But you're soon gonna see that Joey and Oniza's puppy dog love story is kind of cute, really, since Oniza, like, just to give you a brief hint, Oniza is mute and can't speak at all, while Joey speaks in the stutter block with the most adorable laughter and the most adorable way. And especially one of my favorite scenes where Oniza literally wraps Joey up in a web and he giggles while the rest of the group giggles, and all joke like Jared was like, put my little one down, but he couldn't stop laughing, and it was so adorable. Like, you're gonna love them. And even though I want to get to explain many of the multiple monsters that lies within the haunted Hayride, this is gonna be the last you'll ever see of the sketches, since I am finally done with Mythos. So honestly, I feel like we're gonna part 2 to this, since this is already 3 hours long, and it took 3 hours, 3 months since it started in March, April, now it's May. So 3 hours for 3 months. So yep, we wait for part 2, where I discuss 2 more stories, which hopefully don't take 2 months. Wait, 3 stories, 3 months, 3 stories, 3 months. No, don't want to make this any more longer. Hopefully the 2 stories don't take 2 months, 2 hours, and yeah, 2 stories, 2 hours, 2 months. Hopefully that doesn't happen in the next video, where I discuss Spirit of the Crystal Ball, which is based on my Royal High character. If you guys really watch my gameplays, which, yeah, presents Riella stuff. And Family Video Movie Club, which is based on my old childhood rental store that got terminated in the pandemic. And in this universe, it got revived. Hopefully that happens in the future. So be ready for the next separate video, as I am gonna end it here. Probably gonna type some more stuff when I get to more ideas, and also edit some stuff too. But for now, last time, and goodbye, pretty storytellers. And once again, happy 1 part of the 2K special, and bye.